guys ready?
Yep.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion open the meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Everybody. We need a secretary.
I'd love to. It's my favorite.
So she's
Come
not
on,
coming
Becky.
back apparently.
We have to salute the
We
flag.
traumatized her
haven't-
so badly
you know
the
what?
first meeting.
I've been working so many hours. And I don't make phone calls like that.
Yeah.
At work. So I just haven't. I keep emailing her.
Well, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I know.
Would you like me to give her a call, Jerry, just
Well, if
to reach out and see if she wants to come
If
back?
you want to.
I'll give her a call.
Do you know her?
I don't know her, but, you know,
Maybe the town secretary should.
that's not up to me.
Well, but Jenny's tried to call her.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm the only one that's made contact, and I don't have the time.
Do we
I haven't
an
even been
alternate?
home.
Do we have another alternate?
No.
To
Well,
take
who's
her
the
place?
vice chair? Maybe he should call her.
Yeah, I'll try and make more of a point. I mean, at this point, there's no point.
No.
Yeah.
Where are we gonna get
We're
to
nearly
if
through
we?
all the
Right.
budgets.
Right,
There's no
right.
point.
Okay.
You know,
I'll
and
just keep on writing.
So,
Pledge of allegiance.
yeah.
Let's
yeah,
go.
right.
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Ready?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone that did the agenda, and
Thank you, Chris.
okay. Yeah, thanks, Chris. So, did anybody have a chance to look at the 124 minutes?
Not the corrected ones, I did.
Okay. So, since we're not ready to really cover those, can we table those?
Yep.
And just go right to the budget discussion since we've got people waiting. And we can cover the minutes afterwards. Yeah, go ahead.
So before we start, I just want to disclose to the board that I do volunteer quite a bit with the fire department, and I know I'm supposed to disclose that. Leave it up to you guys whether you see a conflict of interest in me participating or in voting. So that's my disclosure, is that I do go down quite a bit and volunteer with these guys. I know them all, and
Do you benefit from them?
I don't personally benefit from them, no.
I wouldn't worry about it.
I mean, I benefit from them if I get sick. Well, just because I know I'm supposed to disclose, so.
Do you want a decision on it now?
I would like to before we get going. I mean, if I'm
Okay.
not gonna be able to.
I don't have an issue. Anybody have an issue with it?
I do. I think she should rescue herself from voting. I mean, she can participate in the
Rescue myself.
refuse
Oh, okay. I see.
from voting. Only because she does, like, there all the time and stuff.
I am there a lot, so, you know, again, that's up to you.
I mean, in the past, we
feel
had it
close with
where the ladies auxiliary, they donated water and they couldn't vote on the fire budget, so I don't think we should change that the way it's been done in the past and doing what we're doing now.
I mean, you know,
Silliness
Up to
to me.
I mean,
Well,
I feel that I
I
can be
think the discussion
objective.
is-
I don't think it's.
I don't have any problem with the discussion. If we don't have a quorum,
Right.
then we've got an issue with voting.
Mhm.
That would be my concern.
So do you want to reserve judgment on the voting until?
Now
The time
just
comes, or-
saying, but discuss everything. I mean, I think that's
Right, well, because you have an objection, you probably have to take a vote, so.
Okay. So,
But could we do that when we vote instead of,
right.
Yes.
yes.
so we just do that with this?
Okay.
Could I-
Because we aren't voting on this tonight anyway.
Right.
We aren't voting until it comes back to us.
Right.
So.
As a form of introduction, I'm not sure if, I think Steve's said hello to everybody, maybe Jerry, I don't know if he said hello to you, so you came in a little
Hi,
late.
how are you?
Hi, good, how are you?
Sort of, I know, obviously, he's the new chief, so.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, he and I have discussed his budget because he's brand new and had never done it. I actually did a budget with Chief Matthews before he came in. And then he has some changes he made to it. And so those are reflected and we talked, but the budget's his and the handout that you have is straight from him. It's new to me as it is new to you, so the selectmen have not been part of this budget at all. As a matter of fact, we're meeting with him tomorrow night to go over this budget as well. So,
Okay.
The reason for the packet is I wanted to make sure that I and also the fire department was very transparent on what we're doing and going forward with. I didn't want to hide anything. I felt this was a good opportunity to do this and explain where the line item's going and what we're doing with some of the funds and how we're saving money as well.
Well, I commend you on that, because we've definitely had issues in the past.
On your pay, how are they paid when they respond to a call, when they're not on per diem or whatever?
You paid by the hour?
Everybody that
Yeah.
responds?
Yeah, except myself, I'm salaried.
Right. Do you have an SOP written on the pay plan?
There is an SOP in the department, I believe. I haven't been able to go over the SOPs yet because I got kinda tossed into the budget and plus trying to do some other things.
I know we need that for labor board and the FEMA and whatever, because I know we had the problems before.
I know that when a new fire chief comes in, he or she has to do the whole new SOPs and sign off on them or change them as they go through.
Lots of luck. I don't think I ever got through them all. I went through them all, read them all, but to change them all and to get them in order was, you never did it. Can you let that start over again, which is you're supposed to do them every 6 months and then gotta keep running.
Did you say you're gonna go over this line by line?
If
Yes.
you'd like to, yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll start now. Under personal services, regular wages.
Just changes.
Okay.
Just changes.
So that would be my salary.
I told him he didn't have to defend his salary, that I would defend his salary, so if you have questions about his salary, go ahead and ask.
Now, is he still doing like the health officer and all the other stuff that?
Yeah, well,
Well,
no,
he's
he's
not
not
the
health
health
officer,
officer.
that's code enforcement, so
Not
he's
yet.
EMA director. So he's fire, rescue, EMA director, and forest warden, I think,
Yes.
is part of that, yep. That's something the state does, we don't actually appoint him to that, that's something the state
Is
does.
he also 911 or is Mark 911?
No, Mark's 911,
Mark is-
Marcus Rhodes, yeah. I mean, there's some stuff with codes that he'll go back and forth, but there's no official title for that.
So just, so at wages, there's no change?
Yeah,
there
$12,000 up.
Yeah.
Huh?
$12,000
Under
up.
regular wages.
Regular wages.
Increase
Oh,
4,000.
regular
4,000.
wages is up
Yeah.
4,500. Chief pay.
Okay,
So it's 1,000
wages,
a week.
go back to it again, wages, there's no change.
No
At
change in
24,000.
regular, yes, and wages for that.
Our
Oh,
calls,
oh. I see.
thank you, calls
Sorry.
aren't up,
Excuse me?
Calls aren't up?
Right now, I believe they're running the same amount right now, so, you never know when we're gonna get that extra call. Or next year, we may get an increase of, 4 or 5%, but you can't guarantee when, or, when you're gonna get a call, or, less calls a year. Sometimes it will vary. It'll go maybe 50 to 60 calls more a year, or you could have, 10 or 20 less. So we don't know. So we just figured the way things are right now, we're covering things well, and we could stay with the same wages for that.
Jerry, I can maybe help. Call volume, maybe this item is only for those calls that happen over and above, so like a fire. So we could have 10 calls during the day, and per diem shifts are gonna cover those. You're not gonna see that reflection. That doesn't show up in this line item. This is over and above. So this is, if I get a call that I need extra personnel for, or if I get a call at night that then they have to actually respond to and actually do, those are calls that are on here. But daytime calls during our per diem shifts,
Okay. They're
those could go up number wise. If it's still just the 2 people that are responding, then you're not gonna see anything in this number here.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
So yeah, because I didn't see the per diem days.
Yeah.
So
That went out.
that's already covered.
So we have
Right, that did go up, right.
Yeah, we kind of have 4 different things on their time cards. We have what's called per diem, which is the day shifts and actually into the nights. But we have overnight, which is just a stipend. So that's just a $35 for an 8-hour shift. On weekends, that's a 12-hour shift overnight. They're just on call.
Just on weekends is when they stay overnight.
They don't even stay overnight.
stay overnight.
We don't have facilities for them to stay overnight. So they're just doing it from home. They're just on call.
Right.
Then we have calls, which is what this number is that they actually get called into the scene, called into a fire, called into, and then we have training, which is actually, I think that training goes into, that might go into that on-call, which is at training hours. It's a flat rate, but because they have training nights on Tuesdays.
It's not under
What
staff
is that?
development?
No, I don't think that's a different. That's staff development is more going to training, like getting certified in pumps or certified in this or trained in that.
So that pay is the only thing you get paid for is training besides calls?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So if you have 3 guys at the station during the day, and then you have a fire.
Yep.
And more people show up, how do they get paid, by the hour?
They get paid by the hour under wages.
Okay, yep. That's underneath that 24 hours.
Yes.
24,000.
Yep.
The 2 per diem guys aren't.
Right, they're already paid.
Those are already, that's coming out of the per diem section.
Yeah.
It sounds confusing. But basically is you have the 2 per diems that work 6 a to 10 p.m. at night. We have a call during the day. The per diems go, they're already getting paid out of the per diem pay. But the people who come in to assist them on the call will get paid out of this wages. And it also covers the nighttime calls, the training and stuff like that.
So the 2 per diems, are they on site? They're on site all day.
Yes.
Okay, are they at the same station?
Yeah, no, shut up. You take over.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yes.
So that coverage at the station is from what time to what time?
6 a.m. to 10 p.m. on weekdays. And weekends, it's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And that 188 covers all that time.
That was 6 p.m. on weekends.
Yes. And the reason for the increase on that line item was because I feel that the town needs better coverage with paramedics, especially with days that I'm not going to be there. We have one other paramedic that's on the department, so there's only 2 of us. So if we can hire more per diem medics, this will also, like maybe 3 days a week, and I can cover the other 2 days. That'll save money as well.
So the paramedic we have now, he's per diem?
He's
Does
pretty
he,
young.
does he stay at the station?
Yes, he lives in Falmouth.
Oh.
And he travels down here to work from 6A to 2P or 6A to 10B. So,
Last year they went up on that pay because they wanted full-time one paramedic on per shift.
Mhm.
Then that was gone up from last year too. So,
yeah.
so it's going up again to do the same.
Just to bring in per diem paying paramedics, not a full-time paramedic position.
I mean, that's what he was supposedly gonna do last year, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Why the pay went up last year was so they could have at least one paramedic on per shift.
Yeah, it went up a lot last year.
We're paying for the training. Certainly don't wanna be losing them.
So what's nice is on the paramedics that I like to hire, they're going to be firefighter 1 and 2 as well. So that we can use them as cross-trained. Fire comes in, they go to the fire. EMS call comes in, they go to the EMS call. We're such a small department that we can only handle one call at a time.
Do you wanna go into employee costs? Everybody done with wages?
I just have one thing to add if I can. This doesn't, if we were to go to a paramedic on shift every single per diem, so in other words, one paramedic, so if you think about the ultimate coverage would be a paramedic and an EMT advanced for your 2 people that are on per diem for all the per diem shift. That would be, there's no need to have 2 paramedics. So, and ultimately you'd wanna have an advanced EMT, with the paramedic. And so if you run those numbers based on what we're currently paying, you have basically 104 hours a week that are per diem hours. Paramedics are currently getting paid, if paramedic and it's also cross-trained with firefighter 1 and 2, is currently getting paid $21 an hour. And an EMT advanced, same qualifications with, that's firefighter 1 and 2 is getting paid $15 an hour. If you multiply those out, you get basically $3,744 a week times 52 weeks is $194,688. So call it rough number 195,000. So that would be if we were fully staffed at the ultimate level, which this 188 is lower than that because the chief's going to be able to cover some of those paramedics, and it's going to take us a little bit to get to that level. But that's, eventually that's where that number might be going. So.
I just got a question, I know you can't answer it because you weren't here, but if you look on the wages, on page 3.
Which wages?
07, I guess?
17?
No, page 3.
It's year to date, that's what, 213, okay, yeah, I don't have that, 213, but that's fine, oh, yeah, maybe.
I mean, the number that jumps out at me is $5,800. $5,800 in a week's time. Compared to all the other weeks.
Was that a week maybe that we had multiple calls and storms and?
No,
Yeah, it was October, it was in the middle of October, I don't.
was that big October storm maybe?
We had that windstorm.
Yeah.
That it came through in October.
That may have been that, yeah, with the power outages and stuff. Power was out for like 4 or 5 days.
Okay. I was just checking because that number jumped out at me
Yep.
where all the others were
Yep.
like $2 or $3 grand,
That would be my guess, yeah.
What's the date?
10-5.
10/5.
But that would be the per diems, right?
Well, yeah, per diems, you had other coverage coming in, and we put people on overnight because of the power outage.
So under employee costs, travel expenses, we decreased that by $150. The ambulances currently have easy passes and it's free for us on the ambulances. So it's free in Maine and New Hampshire as well. We're a transporting service, they're just basically, saying, hey, thank you, more or less, so.
Excuse me, Chief, was that the travel expenses was for like the ambulance going back and forth
Well,
like to Port?
They were easy pass charges.
Yeah,
So, yeah, cause, kind of interesting that it's under employee cost if it was for the ambulance, like going back to Portsmouth, back and forth to Portsmouth or something.
so I'm not sure why this was originally under, that category. So,
Are the easy passes stationary in the ambulance or can they be moved to other vehicles?
we shouldn't be moving them to other vehicles.
I know you shouldn't, but that's why I asked if they're
Does the expedition
stationary.
get one?
Shouldn't be.
No, it does not.
So could you actually like take the easy pass and move it into the expedition or
You-
into a private vehicle if you
So
chose to?
here's the deal. Technically, you could, but it's not being honest, because basically you're taking this and putting it into another vehicle, and you're driving down, and it's not the ambulance that they're letting go through the tolls for free.
No, that easy pass is for that plate on that vehicle.
Exactly. So I think being straightforward with the company instead of trying to move them around and.
Yeah, that was just my question, cause it doesn't seem to make sense to
Well,
be
didn't
there.
spend any of it last year.
No.
This car one doesn't have one.
Does not. Staff development, which is training. As it says in my synopsis there, I believe in training and safety. I'd like to send more people to conferences, hands-on trainings. What it does is also it brings their knowledge back into the department to share with us as well. We can also hire outside instructors to come in to teach certain classes for us to make sure that we have the right certifications and so on, whether it's fire or EMS. This way, as you all know, training is a good opportunity to bring confidence and instill the ability and thinking and functioning of the people on the fire grounds and EMS scenes.
Now, do we have contracts with the people that do that?
If you want.
That we pay for the training?
Well, there's different classes that different Maine
This-
Fire Institute does, or the York County Chiefs Association may put on a class, or another department may bring somebody in, then other people, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I'm just saying.
gonna
if
throw
some-
something
if
at you. I was
somebody-
gonna
if
throw
somebody-
this at you and say.
looked at me and I answered,
So
so.
if somebody takes firefighter one or whatever, and the town pays for it, do they have a contract with the town that, like, the minute they get certified, they're not gonna leave and go to another?
We
town?
haven't with the firefighter 1 and 2, or we do it, okay, they have in the past with firefighter 1 and 2, but it's also done with EMS. So, I'm in the process of going to develop a training, request sheet, that when they sign it, it's basically saying, you will, attend the class. If you do not attend the class and you leave at a certain amount of time, you will reimburse the department. There's one who, currently that the department paid for, she has left the department and she's in the middle of her class, but she said she was going to pay us back. So, we're gonna talk to her and see if the other department will reimburse us.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yep. So that's why the increase of 1,000 was to get more training and so on, and conferences.
Right now, you're pretty much basically cross-trained, everybody there, because of all the
Yes,
classes.
there's maybe 4 or 5 handful that might not be cross-trained.
So mostly this is looking to further education, to increase their certifications in education.
And we also have to recertify a lot, especially with EMS. Maine EMS requires every 3 years to recertify. If you were in New Hampshire, it'd be every 2 years. Next is payroll tax. That's due to the proposed increases in wages. So on to supplies. No change in the office supplies.
Down 200. Oh, I see, yeah.
No changes in janitor supplies. I did increase the vehicle fuel by $500 due to instability, back and forth. So that was the only increase there. Medical supplies decreased $2,000. We found a vendor who actually is cheaper, and we're doing cost comparison instead of ordering just from one company now. The last order we did, we saved roughly $750 with this new vendor. So,
Uniforms,
yeah, so the next,
that wasn't in there?
no. So the next one is the new line item. They've been just buying, the previous chief was just buying out of equipment and whatever. So what I'd like to do is add this to the budget. Supply everybody with, whoever works a lot of hours will get 2 polo shirts and a sweatshirt at least. That way we're in uniform. We look professional and so on. Most places that I've worked in the past just buy shirts and that was it, shirts and sweatshirts. And everyone else supplied their own boots and pants. So I'd like to do this, and also it would, if something, somebody rips a shirt on a call or so on, we can replace it.
So did you say they buy their own boots?
Mm-hmm.
Regular boots.
Their own
Regular,
pants.
regular.
Regular work.
Not fire
regular-
stuff.
Yeah,
When you
sorry.
say, that's not talking,
the black,
that's somewhere else in here?
right, the black boots that I currently have on now, my uniform boots, they're actually made for bloodborne pathogens and so on. Those are almost $300 a piece. So, and I purchased that by myself. So, it's kind of tough in smaller departments to pay for boots and pants and everything, and I understand that. But I would like to start out with shirts and sweatshirts for the time being, and worst comes to worst, maybe next year add a little bit more for pants, because we ruin our pants quite often. So. So next line item would be utility section. There was no change to electricity. There was an increase of $1,000 into the heat. Stations aren't very weather tight.
It was an awful cold winter.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I've burned a lot of fuel.
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons for the increases, because of the cold snap that we had for a week or two. So.
Excuse me, Chief, why did you leave the electric the same? Are the expenses on that line item way down? I haven't had a chance to flip over there.
I did talk to Central Maine Power, and they didn't expect that much of an increase this year, coming year.
See, Judy? You told us they were gonna skyrocket, remember?
Well, it's all over the news.
I think
It is.
That's
They-
what the news said.
I
They
know.
probably will because of the storm. They got to recover from the storm, but they told
That's
us.
what they said, they were gonna pass
Right.
it on.
Plus, they had it increased, planned
Yes.
increase
Yep.
in January, so I'm surprised.
Propane, I just went up just a little bit, but right now, I just had a delivery yesterday, and we're paying $5.89 a gallon.
Who are you getting that from?
That's through AmeriGas.
Holy.
Down east was the same too.
No, you should say, who were you getting that from?
Oh, where are you getting it from?
That's what we're changing.
So we are looking for. We're going to be switching to what the town uses currently. The other places.
PGAG, we use PGAG.
So, I just filled up this morning, and mine was $2.79.
Yeah, mine was,
So-
'cause I brought that 589 in, cause they still sent me the bill,
Yep.
and it was down.
He does pass the bills on, he
Yeah.
doesn't pay them, I don't know why. I don't know.
589 from
Holy man.
down east too.
Yeah.
If you get the bill, aren't you supposed to pay it? If you get the bill, aren't you
It
supposed to
came
pay
in
it?
your name, right, Skip? Yeah.
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 So I just increased it $50, just, you know, I know if we had a big increase, you know, that's not gonna cover it, but just the $50, just in case. We'll probably end up being a little bit cheaper.
Are you heating upstairs over there now?
Not all day, I mean, not,
Kept at 60 or so.
yeah,
So it's running, so
Yeah.
how much are you using over there?
Not that much.
they just dropped off
They
80.
go by usage, I mean, the more you use, the cheaper it's gonna be.
Right.
If you was under the town contract, if they put on one here and there, all one contract, then you'd probably get it cheaper.
I get a lower rate, right, exactly, that's what I'm hoping for.
Do you get a municipal rate if the fire department, the library?
I don't know, I gotta call P. Gagnon. I mean, we were gonna wait till the spring, but I mean, I'm probably gonna call them now and maybe, especially since we gotta warm up. Well, we gotta warm up, so maybe they can get into a tank and swap a tank out earlier, I don't know.
What, are you heating with propane or are you heating with oil?
Propane.
Propane upstairs over there.
So then what is the heat?
Heat.
Heat is oil, there's both in both stations, I believe.
Okay. So you're using both to heat.
Oil heats the lower, first floor over there, and the second floor is propane up on the other side.
Okay.
It's all oil over here, but propane's for the generators and the stove.
Oh, yeah. Is the generator gone from over here?
No,
Oh, okay.
each station has an emergency generator.
Yeah, okay.
Why is it missing?
Just see it going down the road.
No, I think I was surprised to see it dark when the electricity was out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the next area is repair and maintenance. So tech maintenance, we've eliminated. Building maintenance. So we increased it by $2,000. As you are aware, the buildings are in need of some repair and some sprucing up. We're looking to adding gear racks over Station 2, up on the walls, behind some of the engines instead of beside the car as you walk in, the chief's vehicle. There's not much room between the walls and the cars, and so we're trying to eliminate all that so people can walk through and not trip over stuff and go from there.
Add what? Sorry, I missed it. What are you adding?
Gear.
Gear racks.
So what are we doing, what are we gonna do with that?
Just didn't know. Like, why are you hanging deer in?
Floor and stuff, that would come under, they're doing something about that now.
We've got some estimates out there, actually our code enforcement officer is a civil engineer, so he's in charge of the project, so I put an engineer in charge of it, and so, we've already got several contracts, we're pretty sure we know who's gonna do the cement work. So now it's just doing a bunch of coordinating, and then we also have to get a purchase and sales agreement, that's signed. We can't take the building, cause we thought we could take it early, but we have to do it for a vote. So the town can't, stupid stuff, but, so we have to actually, that's gonna be in June. And will the town accept the building? So we can't, but we're gonna have a signed purchase and sales agreement that will then give us permission to be able to work on it. You know what I'm saying, up until that vote. So that's where we're at. I mean, I'm trying, and we were all ready to sign off on it, and then it was like, well, does the town have to accept it? And we looked into it, and there's nothing that says,
I have a question for you.
yeah,
Do you have a job other than this?
sometimes no.
I mean, I don't know how you do it all. So
Are we moving back over to this station once that's fixed, or what's the plan?
Once it's fixed and deemed safe, most likely, yes. have some plans to do things over there if we can do that.
It just seems like more, my opinion, there's more action on this end of town than that end of town, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think in Lebanon we have all sorts of action.
Good and bad.
You haven't been here that long.
No, I understand. I know a lot of people that live over here, so so.
Interesting.
So vehicle maintenance. I've increased that $1,000. Currently the apparatus, the ambulances, need some work and taking care of pre-existing problems that have not been done under preventive maintenance in the past.
Okay, wait,
Like what?
we've got 46,000 in one column, 47,500 in another, and then 48,500 on the other. So
Sorry.
You've got two amounts for 2019.
Where's the 47?
It's in these.
Oh, in
It's
here.
in here.
Where are you looking?
That if you look at repair, that's the total budget for that.
That line item.
That group. Okay. So if you see under radio maintenance, 2017 they allotted 46,000 for that.
What are you looking at?
The 2018.
Right
Right
here, it says 47,500.
40,
On
yeah,
here.
that's that's total for repair and maintenance.
Correct.
That's
Yep.
what she's looking
And on here, the
Says
total is
48,500.
48,500.
I increased it 1,000, and I think maybe that might.
Okay, so that means it's
We could
increased
go up to,
2,000.
we could go to 1,000, is up
Yeah, but it's not on this one.
That's what it shows on his report.
to 12.
Right. This is the
2,500.
town, this is
Two,
the
so you
town
want
budget.
3 on
But he
radio
changed, this
maintenance?
is his budget,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
this is the budget.
Yeah.
so radio maintenance is the discrepancy.
Okay.
So radio maintenance, he had at 3, we must have missed that. So right now, what you have in the budget report is 2,
So you're looking at increasing that to 3.
so that's the 3, because
Yes.
there's some older radios, and I remember he and I talked about that.
Oh,
So
okay.
that number just didn't get to Jordan correctly.
All right.
Oh, so that's.
Or I'll blame Jordan for hitting the wrong key, I guess.
Might as well be in there.
Can I just ask a question? Didn't we replace a whole bunch of radios last year? And did we only replace a portion? And now we need to replace the other portion? Because for some reason I recall that was why the radio maintenance was up last year, was because we replaced a bunch of radios.
Some of these radios that were replaced were because of all the narrow banding and high band, from the federal government, they mandate and stuff. But these are starting to get very aging. Some of our radios are getting very aged and they're not working properly.
So you're gonna be replacing with
So
the
we're
dual
gonna be-
band radios?
We're looking at, for the new engine coming in, putting a crossband repeater in. So to keep the cost down, we're going to put in the radios that you need for the crossband, but not actually put the switch in to activate the crossband, because that's a little bit more money. So we were gonna do that out of next year's budget, and this year's budget was for the 2 radios. But there was also like portables that need to be replaced, pages that we need to buy, and so on.
This is maintenance, not the.
Right, but it is, we need to do something, and if we can fix it, we'll fix it with a maintenance. If we can't, then we'll buy it under equipment.
So these radios that you're looking at putting in the new engines, I know that they've, just because of discussions that we've had in different board meetings that I've sat in on, I know that they, like the state police, for example, have a horrible problem with the digital trunking radios.
That's totally different.
So these are different than that. Okay.
Yeah,
I just
digital
want to make sure
trunking.
we're not replacing with something that we know has dead spots all over town.
Right.
For the state police.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So state police operates on a VHF. Am I right, JT? Yeah. Okay. So, and we operate off both. So, there's places like River Road, we went to a call the other day, and we couldn't,
Yeah.
outside the trucks, we couldn't talk to dispatch.
Right.
So, so if we're over there and we're getting beat up,
Yeah, welcome to Lebanon.
we can't, can't call for
No,
help.
it's been a concern here for a long time.
Yep.
Going back to vehicle maintenance, what are some of the problems we have?
Lack of maintenance.
Just nickel and dime stuff?
Nickel and dime stuff. We have one ambulance right now that in the past 2 years we spent $6,000 in just repairs. And that's the oldest ambulance. We have the other ambulance was just spent $2,000 on brakes and stuff like that because it's lack of maintenance. And
You gotta have brakes.
yeah.
Some of that was done right after the old chief, not this last chief, but the chief before that, got done. He put a lot of money into A1 at the time, which was brakes and front end and everything else. Yeah, that had to be done again.
Yeah, we just our newest ambulance just had an exhaust system put on. We had to wait a week and a half, 2 weeks. It sat out of service because it just needed a tailpipe. So.
No, I listened to the selectmen's meeting the other night, and they was talking about none of the maintenance had been done with that, including the fire trucks, because I know they were done on a regular basis as far as maintenance and everything else, and I just.
I don't think they've been done recently.
Well, I mean, back when I was.
Yeah.
So they were set up to do, the regular maintenance done on them, and all the records was there. They said there wasn't any records, and there was.
Yeah.
I know I had plenty of records on it, either in the computer or then there's a backup of the paper.
Yeah. I went through the file cabinets. I didn't find any records whatsoever of maintenance on the trucks.
But get with you, because I know there was records on everything. Too many records that I was always complaining about.
Yeah. So the ambulances should be at least done every 3 to 4 months, and depending on whether it sits there or not. It's just because they're on the road constantly, usually. The other part is the engines and the tank trucks. They can go every 500 hours or every 6 months.
So what's the majority of this money, do you think?
Right now,
Ambulance or fire trucks? Or
excuse me?
Ambulances or the fire trucks? Or?
Right now, the ambulances.
So didn't you have a time only recently when there was both ambulances were out of service and we had to borrow one?
Yeah, the ambulances, both ambulances broke down the same day, and we had to borrow an ambulance for 4 or 5 days.
How do you do that?
That's the wizard on that one right there.
Northeast Mobile Health provided us with an ambulance and a spare.
Oh, okay. And was there a rental fee on that?
No.
Just to be fair,
Really? Wow.
was it North Berwick did too, right?
North Berwick attempted to loan us their ambulance, and when we went to pick it up, it wouldn't start.
Oh.
So it does happen.
Oh.
But another project on vehicle maintenance I'm looking at is putting a pump heater on engine 2 and also a heat pan on the bottom to hold the heat within the pump area, because the truck on those cold spells that we've had got to the call, the truck was totally frozen and couldn't pump water.
Oh.
You said that was bought quickly in the Southern truck. That wasn't the Southern truck, and it wasn't. We ordered that special, and there is a heater built into that from the motor, if I remember correctly.
There's no heater on it.
There was no dial there for something. There wasn't.
No, there's no.
I don't know. The tankers
Engine
both have them.
Not the pan. I know they didn't have a pan, but I
Engine 2
thought we
doesn't
had.
have one. Engine 2 doesn't have a pan or a heater.
No, I know it doesn't have a pan, but I know that was.
So that was, we're looking to upgrade and try to also, the valves are leaking, and that's why one of the reasons why they're freezing as well. So.
The engine valves or the pump valves?
The engine valve, well, pump valves, I'm sorry.
Is that a matter of putting in new gaskets or something like that?
Sometimes
or is
to be
it
rebuilt.
replacing? Yeah.
So we'd have to have a company like Eastern Fire over in New Hampshire come over and either take it to their shop and they can rebuild it, take it out and rebuild it, or try to do it here. But I think they'd prefer to do it at their shop.
How many have been replaced since I left?
How many what's?
Valves.
They haven't replaced any valves, but it's had a packing since you left and it's due for another packing now.
Yeah.
That's why it's leaking now.
Yeah. Well, I know the valves
There is
they're
a
replaced.
2.5 valve, I believe, that needs to be replaced.
Cause I know I replaced, every time they come down, they replace 2 or 3, because they, just the dirt and stuff are in the water here, but they were we constantly kept them replaced and repaired. They're just, if they haven't been, they're gonna leak and it's gonna freeze up, but.
Chief, do you happen to know what the mileage is on each one of the 2 ambulances?
I do not, but JT or
Ambulance 1 is close to 90,000, and ambulance 2 is at about 75,000.
In what year is ambulance 1?
Ambulance 1's a 2004.
And ambulance 2?
2009.
What is it?
2009.
Thank you.
It was that long ago we got that ambulance.
Doesn't seem that long ago, does it?
So I had my first ride in A1 the other day with a patient, and I thought the suspension was going to come up through the back floor. So just to
That's been like that for years, ain't it?
I think it's getting worse from what I hear.
But that's
Wasn't that
fixable.
just, didn't that have the airbags and everything?
2004.
They've done small stuff to the airbags, but
What do you want to put in it?
the airbags can rot the whole system.
I don't know.
I just it's
But it's not worth it.
No, I thought
so
they-
it's not worth putting money in it because if we keep putting a Band-Aid on it, it's just gonna. If it's like you have a vein that's leaking somewhere, you have varicose veins, one of them little leaks. You put a Band-Aid on it, it might leak from another spot.
So you're looking to replace it from CIP?
We're gonna work on that and go from the next meeting that we meet with you.
Yes, so just,
It's
no need to talk about an
No.
ambulance tonight. There will be,
Well, we are covering their CIPs tonight.
Yeah.
that's correct,
Okay.
but that's just what you're putting into it, not necessarily what's coming out of it and but that's most likely, there will be an ambulance on the ballot. Where the funding is gonna come from and all of that kind of stuff, we haven't done that yet. We're meeting with the chief in a week from tomorrow to do that. And then we'll be coming to the board. That's what the last meeting for the budget committee was about, those additional items. And so that's when he'll bring a presentation for the different options. But we have different strategies that we wanna take a look at as far as how to fund, an ambulance. How much do we pull out, of CIP? How much do we ask for? There's a bunch of different ways that we can fund it. So we're meeting a week from tomorrow the board and the chief to strategize that part of it.
Will that be a public meeting on video or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any grants that you could apply for?
For ambulances, yeah, I mean, there are grants you can apply for, whether you get them or not, I don't, that's, a lot of times the grants for vehicles, they're trying to replace 1950s and 60s vehicles.
Oh, okay.
So not 2000, 2004, 2000.
We're in the lap of
Um,
luxury
you know,
compared to that.
Some of the fire departments that are smaller fire departments that are dealing with old stuff. But ours get used a lot.
Mhm.
The roads aren't the best, so that takes wear and tear on any vehicle. So I mean, there's a bit about preventative maintenance that I'm not sure has happened in the past, which helps maintain vehicles, and you get longer life out of vehicles if you put that little bit of money in ahead of time. So that will be a discussion for another night is on an ambulance replacement strategy, so.
And fire truck replacement? Because it's
I don't, so there's not gonna be anything on a fire truck on this coming ballot. We just bought one, so out of the CIP.
Bought a used. Got to use fire truck out of the CIP account.
We just paid 48,000, I think it was 48,000, was that right? Yeah. For, we bought Berwick's engine, yep, it's a pumper. So we just bought that, have we taken delivery, it was today?
No.
Oh, yeah.
So we're taking,
But it's coming out of the CIP.
taking delivery in the next couple of days, that came straight out of CIP.
And what year was it?
2006, 6, was it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
How many miles does it have on it?
It was in the 80s, 80,000.
So about how much life does it have?
Probably
I mean, if they're getting rid
we'll
of it.
we'll get a good couple years out of it, 5-6 years.
The only fire trucks are built for 20 years. So this one is what, 11 years old, 12 years old in Berwick.
So we gotta get
So
10 years out of it.
we still got maybe 9, 10 years, depending what's going on with it and so on.
If you
Yeah,
do
it's a
the
front line
routine
on it.
maintenance, you
It's
might,
front line.
you might get even more.
Routine maintenance will be done. So, we discussed the radios just a minute ago, so I'd like to just increase that $1,000 because they're aging. We must maintain 2 radios in each truck because Milton Mills is on a different band. North Berwick is also on ultra high like us. Berwick's on a different band, so our mutual aid communities are mix and match with radios.
What year was that?
2006.
So the next line item would be self-contained breathing apparatus, which is basically the air packs that we wear. NFPA and the manufacturers sometimes disagree on how often they need to be flow tested. So each air pack has to be flow tested either annually or every 2 years. Unfortunately, Lebanon has the ones that has to be done annually because they're chemical, biological, and so on. So these have to be done.
How much does that cost?
Each pack is $50 a pack to flow test. Now, if we have them to be cleaned, if they're filthy, the regulators itself, if they're filthy, it's an extra $8. But I did speak to one of the companies that we deal with that sells those air packs. They're willing to put on a air pack class for free, so we can send one of our or a few of our people to them, and they'll explain how to clean the air packs and how to clean and plus replace parts on the air packs as well. That's not the technical side of it, though. I mean, if it's something technical, we may have to send it to them to repair it. That's all. So they're like I said, they're offering to give us a free class. Equipment maintenance, I had no change in that.
FX again, you got 25 now?
We have 25
Right,
currently.
how many converted over? Another 13? You got 12, right, new ones? So you got 13 more converted?
I believe so.
Yep.
They're all the same, set up the same?
Yep.
Equipment maintenance, no change in the budget. It's just basically like portable pumps and stuff like that we need to have for forestry and other items on the trucks that we need, generators and stuff. Under equipment, we decreased the office equipment by $750. Right now, our office equipment's pretty decent shape. Fire equipment, there's no changes in the amount. If you kind of read through that, basically NFPA, which is a company, not a company, but it's more or less it's a guide throughout the United States for life safety and fire gear or SOPs and stuff like that. So they require that, or I should say, highly suggest that we start replacing gear that's 10 years old. So right now we have currently enough money in the budget. We're going to be buying 4 sets of gear this budget. So the old administration at the station was buying a set of gear in New Hampshire from Globe, and which is a manufacturer in Pittsfield, New Hampshire, for just under $2,000 a set for pants and coats only. So I researched a little. I found a vendor who I used to deal with in my previous job. He came down and showed the gear, which is comparable to what they were purchasing previously. And it was $293 cheaper a set. Wow. So with this savings, we were able to also get what they call particulate hoods, which keeps out 99.9% of the carcinogens that we deal with during fires. So this goes over our head, and it covers our head, neck, and ears.
It's like a baklava, if you know what a baklava is, that's what they look like.
So, and that was $98 to buy one. And then we also found a pair of gloves, because each person on the department gets a structural firefighter glove and also gets an extrication glove for car accidents. Well, they're selling a new type of glove out there that is basically an extrication glove and a firefighting glove for $132 instead of $150 or $100 for both sets of gloves, the old style that they used to buy. So we're combining that and purchasing one.
Does the firefighter gear, does that still have to be cleaned after every fire?
After every fire, it's supposed to be cleaned.
Okay.
And we have washers at the station for that, and then it's hung to dry.
Brand gear.
This is called Viridian. It's basically the old Securitex that they used to make years ago. And this company actually is a very good company. The gear is comparable, like I said, comparable to Globe and Morning Pride.
Gone through the years, we've gone through many different brands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Current uses for this type of gear is Old Orchard Beach, Standish, Saco, Hollis, Arundel, a bunch of other departments in the area. So there is a cost savings there, so we're going to be changing over to that. So we need to start purchasing gear over time to start replacing some of the older stuff that's getting out of date.
Is that something, I mean, once you've used it a little while, is that something that you can mix with, like Globe? I mean, you can use a pair of pants and a coat from Globe.
You could use whatever vendors you want.
No, I mean,
which side? Right.
Can you mix and match?
You can mix and match, yes.
Because I mean, some of the stuff we had was jacket or 2 shots or something else. So.
But you get different manufacturers will have a longer coat or a shorter coat, or longer pants or taller pants. I mean, so you have to make sure that there is total coverage. Like a coat and pants, you have to have at least 8-inch coverage between the pants and the coat.
Once you start, switching them out and putting them into different people, then the pants may fit one guy, but the coat's not going to.
Right, and that's where you run into problems too.
Mixing, and if they don't.
Yeah.
Because we had that problem with, we had the bib all, then you had the short pants.
Right.
And you couldn't put the coat with the other one, so.
Yes. So after purchasing the hood and a new pair of gloves and a coat and pants, we're still saving $63 a set.
Nice.
Not a lot, but we're saving.
Your boots and helmets?
Boots and helmets are, yeah, I mean, we still have to purchase those. So we can look around and find out what's better. I just found one helmet the other day from Bullard, one of the companies, which is a good helmet for structural and also extrication.
And the boots, are you still with the leather, or you?
We're still gonna stay with the leather because the big old rubber boots of the past, in the fire departments, because one, if they don't fit right, the users are gonna get blisters all through their feet. Then they're out of commission for a week or two, trying to figure it out, you know. And then it's just too big when you're climbing ladders and stuff like that, so you want an actual boot to fit like a regular shoe. And some of these leather boots, they're a little bit expensive, but they fit like a shoe. So, and also out of that equipment fund, we'd be buying like axes, nozzles, adapters or something for the trucks and so on.
How's your hose for this new truck or the replacement truck?
Well, so Berwick has offered, they have hose that was on that truck previously. They're not using, it's 5-inch hose. They're not using 5-inch anymore. They're all swapping back to 4-inch hose. Instead of us going out and buying, you know, brand new hose for the truck, the chief over there said just offer us something that's not being cheap and just not being high expensive, you know, middle of the road type thing. So we're looking at how much it's going to cost to buy brand new hose, and then try to give them a modest and price that we pay for their hose.
So he wants more than $1 for it.
Yeah, most likely. So.
Did you check Amazon?
So I don't think the Prime would deliver it. So we're looking into that to replace some hose. And go from there. So the other thought is, once we get the 5-inch hose, all our trucks are 4-inch hose. They're going to supply the adapters. They'd give us a couple adapters for the hose. But we were talking about taking the 4-inch hose off of the tank truck, putting it on the new engine, and then taking the 5-inch hose and put it on the tank truck where it doesn't get used a lot. So
That's the one that goes mutual aid most of the time. Most of them are 4, so
yeah, the tank 5 is one that goes mutual aid most of the time. Tank 6 is the one that sits over here. That we take the hose off that one and put it on the new engine. So, but with the adapters, the 5 to 4 adapters, 5-inch to 4-inch adapters, everyone will be able to use.
Yeah. I mean, we had them on there anyhow. Because
safety equipment, there was no change in pricing on that one. Just barricades, lights, directing traffic, safety vests, stuff like that. Outside services, we decreased that by $900. Laundering gear, that's what it's used for. Exposed to biohazards, certifications. I had a company send us a bill for $150 for 2 years, and I called up and said, what is this for? What are we doing? Why? And they said, seeing that you do glucose monitoring, blood sugars on the ambulance, you have to have a certificate. It's mandated by the federal government. So we have to pay $150 for 2 years for a certificate, just because we take a blood sugar.
Everybody's got to get there somewhere.
You know, patients do their own.
Right.
Correct.
That's what I was going to say.
It's not that complex.
We could say, okay, you do your own, we'll give you a discount. But
I can't believe that they're charging you
yep,
for a certificate.
every ambulance company gets that charge.
Oh my God.
So.
People are dying to death.
Yeah. Technology services. This is basically antivirus software assistance, any backups that we have to do, data plans for data plans for the computers that we have in the trucks. Each ambulance has a computer, which is a iPad. They have to do electronic run reporting. So
And those are new, correct?
those are new.
Yeah.
And we're in the process of purchasing one for the frontline engine as well, coming in. Medical director. So we're decreasing this totally and basically eliminating that line item. The state of Maine EMS does not require that the department have a medical director, because we can also use the emergency room as our medical directors.
Really?
So if we have questions or anything like that, we just call the physician of the emergency room, the head physician of the emergency room, and he's supposed to help us out and go through. So this line item will be deleted because it wasn't being used, and the medical director that they were paying for previously was not offering any services to us anymore. So this is a $5,000 savings.
Nice.
Paramedic intercept.
Oh, you skipped one.
Oh, sorry. Technology services?
No.
The hydrants. No, he didn't.
Hydrants.
I didn't.
Hydrants.
That's at the bottom.
Afterward.
After what?
That's at the bottom.
He's on paramedic intercept and hydrants isn't.
I'm going by the budget here.
Well, you're on the wrong page. We're all going by his budget.
On this page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll go by numerical
Yeah,
order.
we were all, I think we're all looking at his ring.
So paramedic intercept. Seeing as that we have one paramedic on duty, when Rory comes down to do his shifts, and then with me being there, on days that he's not there, I'm there 5 days a week. When I'm not in school or anything like that, I'm there 5 days a week. And the crews go out on the calls currently. If they're not at the paramedic level, I let them do their job because they're good at what they do. And if they know that they need a paramedic, then they call back and I respond. So that way it does save money. The only one who charges us right now is Sanford for paramedic intercepts. Frisbee does not charge.
Really?
So we go to New Hampshire.
Yes.
It's better.
So,
Yeah.
but if it only makes sense if we're on this side of town to call Sanford because they'll get there quicker.
Chief, is it still at $375 a call for Sanford?
believe it is, yes.
That they're billing?
So with myself being in the station, and I'm moving to town next month. Yes.
It's coming to Dog Corner. You know what Dog Corner is?
No.
North Lebanon.
Is that where your parents live?
Yeah, Dog Corner, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I'll be
That's the
available
only
some days, but not after hours, but not all the time.
It.
So it should cut down on the paramedic intercept side of Sanford. This will be cost savings and money into the department and the town's pocket because of, we're not paying Sanford to come in, and we're keeping the money from the transports as well.
Chief, just to make something clear, because I know that it was a question before, your salary includes the runs that you respond to, or you're not getting paid an additional hourly wage to respond, correct?
My salary is my salary.
Thank you.
Billing fees, we've increased this for our ambulance billing fees by $600. Basically, just in case there is an increase in calls, because they go by the percentage of calls and how much they collect.
What are we paying the billing company for interest now, or whatever?
Well,
the billing fee is?
it's been in the budget for $9,400, but I'm not exactly sure what it is right now. I have been in contact with the billing company quite a bit the past week. And that's not one thing I've talked about. There's other things I'm working on for generating revenue on calls that we don't transport on.
So I actually have,
to date.
I have a couple of questions. The report shows that you've spent $79.56 out of that $9,400. But watching the selectmen's meeting video the other night, there was discussion about many cars not being built since like April.
I received an email. What happens is the billing company will send me an email when they go in to pull out reports to bill. So I got an email that said quantity 0. So, and I'm like, why, no, reports being pulled. So I kind of got inquisitive and I called the rep who handles us at Comm Billing. Come to find out, the reports that were not billed yet, some needed to be reviewed, some were not completed, some just, needed, some were no transports, stuff like that. So look into it a little further. Not only did I do 2018 calls, but I also looked back into 2017 and found 24 calls that were not billed as well.
So there's a total of like 51.
There was a total of 75 originally.
Oh, Lordy.
So we did a bunch of research, fixed everything that needed to be done, and we were able to bill 38 calls.
Oh, good.
So those got billed, and the others were no transports.
So will that now increase this number that we're seeing here? Does the 7956 include billing for those 30 and change calls, or
That's for this year's budget, it includes the billing, yes.
Okay.
To answer your question, that 7,900 does not include probably those new ones.
The new ones.
It probably does not.
Yeah, because the final charge on here is January.
Yeah.
So were there calls that were still actually being billed during that time, and these ones were just missed? Or there were no calls being billed during that period?
They weren't billed because in each report on the electronic, it says either in progress, not completed, just different little things. But the company can't bill it until we click the button that says ready for billing.
So what were they billing us for? 750, 500?
That was from previous calls that they pulled, not just the 51 that were missed this year.
Okay.
That's year to date, so that's from July 1st of last year, of this.
Because they don't actually bill until later on after everything is complete, right?
So they bill whatever they get, whatever the runs that they pull, they're billing.
Okay. But yeah, that's what I was asking.
But they just weren't sent.
They just weren't marked ready for billing, so they couldn't pull them.
So there were some that were marked for billing that they did collect. Yeah, that was what I was asking. Is it if they were all not billed or just?
No, just some weren't, some were, and it was an honest mistake by some people. But I got an email after they pulled. It was 2 days later, and they were successfully completed and insurance companies were charged almost $90,000.
$90,000 worth of billing error you found?
It wasn't a billing error. It was more or less, it was not marked properly. So
$90,000.
But as the new chief, I'm coming in and we're rectifying everything.
I'm not gasping at you, trust that.
So, and that money does come to the town.
Right.
So.
Now, do you have to go over them reports before they get sent to Comstock?
So
or just whoever just does the report?
Technically we have people who are supposed to do what they call quality assurance. And what they do is they go through the run report, they read the narratives, they make sure everything was done properly and followed protocols. If they're not done properly and followed protocols, then the person who's doing it sends an email saying, hey, why was this done? Did you think about maybe doing it this way? Just more or less of trying to help the person out and making the run sheets better and their services that they provide better. So at the end of that, the person is supposed to say, okay, I'm done with this. Click the button, ready for billing. It was an honest mistake. It didn't happen. So it's been rectified and taken care of.
Is there regular staff that does that you just described, or is it different people?
Rory, yeah, I will be. So right now,
There's no billing clerk or clerk in the department.
we have no. So right now, there's the EMS lieutenant who takes care of part of it, and also the EMS captain who takes care of the other part. So they usually do the QA part of it. So I think that I'm not trying to say that they don't do a good job, which they do a good job. They just made an honest mistake. But myself, I'm going to be meeting with the person who's head of QA in Southern Maine, and they're going to teach me the program so I can do QA as well. I am there 5 days a week. I mean, there's an opportunity for me to do that in-house when I'm there.
Not like you're doing anything else, right?
I have, no. So, but like I said, it was an honest mistake. We rectified it, and we're moving forward and doing a better job. New line item, hydrants. So I guess this is always brought up at town meeting for a vote.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of a joke when we're in budget.
Right.
meeting, because we don't have, it is what it is.
Right.
There's nothing to talk about.
My
It is what it is.
understanding is it's a bargain and we don't want anyone looking into
Right.
it.
Right.
We don't want anyone looking into it.
Yes, Rochester, we love our fire hydrants.
Yeah.
Every day.
So it does make sense to move it into the fire department budget, and go from there. So it stays the same, $1,680.
Is that a contract with Rochester, Chip?
It's like a century old contract, I don't know.
It's never been renewed.
99 years.
99-year contract, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Do you have any idea when 99 years is up?
I haven't got a clue.
I'm just curious when it was
We won't
signed.
be here.
Just wondering. Leave a note for my future followers, please.
That's providing someone figures it out.
And I'm not even gonna ask.
Right.
Because it might have
We're
already
never gonna
expired,
ask.
and I don't wanna ask.
Well, they aren't really doing anything on them, are they? I mean, we're just renting the hydrant.
We rent the hydrants.
Well, it's their water, it's their water.
Yeah.
So they do.
Yeah, what they do is they'll maintain them, they'll paint them, they'll go and make sure they're working. If we go and use the hydrant in the wintertime, we call and tell them that we use the hydrant. They're supposed to come out and actually pump it out and make sure there's no water in it so it doesnn't freeze for the next time.
I can't believe that no one's ever called us about that. Yeah.
One good thing
I'm
we
sure
did
they're
many
looking
years
into
ago.
that.
Next time we'll go.
So the last group is the other. Postage, we're deleting that totally because the town does it here. So it just makes sense to take it out. Dues and subscriptions, no change. What this does, it covers the National Fire Protection Agency, where I can go in and get life safety codes, any new updates and stuff like that. That's a subscription for that. It also involves Maine fire chiefs, being able to network with them. Also New England fire chiefs, York County fire chiefs. Now it also includes York County firefighters, where the organization, the members can go and to the meetings, network, learn new ideas, possibly stuff like that. Atlantic Partner EMS. So this is a organization that's part of that governs certain counties in Maine. There used to be an agency in Southern Maine called Southern Maine EMS, which took care of York County and Cumberland County EMS agencies, where if they needed training or like classes for the quality assurance that I'm going to be taking, they teach that now, Atlantic Partners. So it's an actual, we join. It's like $1,200 and something a year. They give us discounts on people who go to school through them. So if they're offering a basic EMT class or something, instead of paying $1,000, we're paying $750. Stuff like that. So that's why we kind of should stay with them. I've also asked to be put on their board of directors. There's an open spot. That way we have more say. Right now, the state of Maine EMS requires that when we do an ambulance report, we're supposed to do the ambulance report at the hospital and leave our sheet, the sheet there, and then return. But what that's doing is taking away from coverage of our own town. We need to get back into town and so on. Right now, I've kind of instructed the guys, go do your report, go do your call, drop the patient off, come back, we'll do the report here at the station. And it's pretty receptive by everybody. They want to do it that way. We can get back into town, we can do another call, we can cover another call. We're not losing money this way. We have to call mutual aid in to cover a call and take them to a hospital somewhere. We get paid by the loaded mile as well. So if we're in town, we go to a call, we come back and there's another call and they want to go to Portsmouth, okay, we'll take you to Portsmouth. So I mean, that's just the way it is. So if I can get in on the board and stuff like that, we'll have more say and be able to present it to the main EMS board. Because they were actually at one point, and it's sad to say, our protocols currently, if we go to a person in cardiac arrest at a house, we go to the call, and if they're in what they call a systole, which is straight line, which means they've pretty much, their heart stopped totally, they want us to do CPR for 20 minutes without starting an IV, no defibrillation. They just want us to go in and try to restart the heart through the medications. Well, they recently changed their protocols. When a person's in ventricular fibrillation, which the heart is just fibrillating and it can't pump the blood, so their heart, actually the heartbeat stopped, they want us to do CPR for an hour. What? So now American Red Cross has figured that, wow, American Heart Association has pretty much figured, American Heart Association said, well, maybe we made a mistake.
You think?
So, this is why local, small towns and should be on boards like this to have our say.
Yeah.
One doctor from Maine Med says, well, if you get a cardiac arrest and the person's in VFib, maybe you should start calling ambulances from other towns to help you. Well, if we do that, then we're going to strip the other town of an ambulance and so on. So,
what would be the thought process behind that? Okay.
So the doctor actually physically said, well, it's just like a fire department, call mutual aid.
So you would have one shift CPR and then being relieved by another shift by our mutual aid people, and then
they call it pit stop training.
What's the point of doing that anyway?
Mm-hmm. Because their studies, they feel, the American Heart Association felt that their studies was beneficial.
Really?
Aren't you putting the patient in the ambulance and going to the hospital? No, you have to stay.
Now we stay on scene.
Yeah, so they have more likelihood of brain damage and
Yeah,
dying.
exactly.
So if
Well, if
we
you have to pick me up, just drive me to the hospital.
so now if we go to the call, we do CPR and we get what they call return of spontaneous circulation, then we do further interventions, and then we put them in our ambulance and we take them to the hospital. But if they're, don't respond in 20 minutes or half hour, an hour, then we're saying there's nothing we can do.
So CPR is the only option?
CPR, IVs, medications, defibrillation depending on what rhythm the heart is in.
Okay, so you do have those
Yep.
options too.
So
how are the new heart monitors working out? Are they doing well?
we're doing well. The other day we had a call that I went on that JT actually faxed the cardiac rhythm to the hospital, so they knew what we had coming.
Right.
So
It puts an awful lot of responsibility on you guys, doesn't it?
yes, it does.
I just can't imagine the thought process behind an hour of CPR.
Judy could be talking her do not resuscitate order to her door.
She's a nurse, that's why she's like, what?
So this is why we try to stay involved with dues and subscriptions and being part of different organizations.
I notice, I don't see the community mutual aid in there.
Dues and subscriptions?
Yeah.
We don't pay a community mutual aid.
Yes, you do.
That's new to me.
$1,000 to the, you know,
Seacoast?
and so forth that's for the air van and all that stuff.
The fit test machine.
Really? Because I know in Northern York County, there was no fees. It's just everybody, everybody just helped each other.
All that way. Well, it's our part of the.
It's Seacoast Fire, Seacoast Fire.
That, most of it.
Okay.
But that's $1,000.
Yeah.
So is
That's
that,
the one that provides the air van and any, you know, whatever else you need to rate.
so is that in here or
I'll
does it?
find
need-
it.
Well, you paid it last year.
Oh, an air van.
We paid it in 17?
I don't.
Skip, you said we paid it in 17? I don't see it.
Last year before, I'm not sure about this year. I thought,
No. Fiscal 17, which is last year, we didn't pay it, I don't see it.
It was never actually paid. It was supposed to be paid.
it was paid on 9/12/17.
I just got 2 invoices
Oh, so
today
that's the current year then.
Right, this year it was paid. Year before was, I saw that too.
It's different down here.
You know, it's a nice community, actually. I mean, I have friends that live here, and I travel back and forth on my motorcycle through town. So,
Well,
Believe me, everybody knows
Some
us.
friends.
Yeah, there it is.
under other services.
Well, no, it's under the current year to date.
Okay.
So
What's
if you
it
looked
under?
at the full year, prior year, it was never done,
Okay.
but it was paid probably late, the thousands right there. Under the current.
Where's the $1,000?
So,
So you learned something.
yeah, exactly. So then the last one was medical physical, is basically new employees, mandatory respiratory fitness
Okay.
and stuff like that. So, and there's no change.
Okay, we ready to move to CIPs?
Yep.
Do we have anything on CIPs?
Well,
Yeah, there's a handout I gave you.
Tonight?
Oh,
I'm looking for it.
That was the
Probably don't have it, that's what I gave you.
should be right before that.
We're after. Either way, as long as it's
Actually, this is a fairly, I just did this tonight because it just made more sense to me. I mean, I can change it around, but I wanted to have a running total. So I've done this with all the CIP accounts, just to give a running total of when appropriations were made into that account and expenses that can come out of it. And just kind of like basically, it's just a running balance. So it looks a little different than the budget report, so to speak, but this kind of made it simpler. So I don't have, some of the data is not filled in, because I have some of the numbers, but I don't have the expense reports for those previous years, because I literally did this tonight. So I'll have to I'll be able to fill in some of the details with Jordan later, but that's not really, relevant to tonight, really. So I think the goal is to ask for 75,000
No, that's why he said.
for the current year.
okay, well, it looks like the appropriation for 6/1/2017 was 75,000.
That's correct.
So isn't that ongoing?
That's the current year.
so,
Yeah, but she didn't.
yes, for next year budget, yes.
That was what was appropriated for the last budget period.
Yeah, but that's what you're gonna ask for this time.
So we have to ask for it every year? I thought once it was voted on, it just
No. No.
Every year.
Every year.
No, we have an account that we're filling up and we're spending out of it, but we have to fill it up every year.
Excuse us, did we have a final number for fire budget?
It was
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
top of
It's
the,
there.
We did, where is it?
it's on the top,
Right
it's
at
on the
the
first
top.
page.
Oh, it's on the first page.
464, 604.
We were looking at the last.
It's on the first page of his, but it's also on the last page of the other one.
It is? 'Cause-
463,000.
Oh, yeah, I got it. That's why.
It might be off by 1,000 because if you remember the
Because
radio,
you
the
don't
radio
listen.
thing was,
Yep.
What about the $1,000 to pay mutual aid?
I think that's already in dues and subscriptions, we'll, if it's not, we'll fix it, we'll.
do you
If they haven't paid that from the year
That's
before,
where
they're gonna
it's
be looking
manual.
for
We
the
just
other.
got it.
It was off because of the $1,000.
Yep.
Out of the current year's budget,
Or pay it before.
not next year's.
Or pay it
Pay it
before,
before
yeah,
June.
just pay it
We've
before.
got 2,000 to pay out of the current year budget.
We have not spent the 5,000 out of the medical director yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, we
So-
got money in the
We've
current
got money
budget, we can
with
pay
it, so
it
it
twice
can
this
be
year,
paid.
so we can get it, yeah, no problem.
It sounded like such a good idea.
Unless you want me to call Scarborough for a mutual aid and go down fill our tanks.
Okay, so. Is 75,000 gonna be enough for future expenditures for?
I can ask for 1 million.
No, you can't.
Good luck with that one.
Good
luck with that one.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. It was 75.
Yeah.
So if we added another 75, we'd have 150,000 in there. If we add another 75 in
Yeah, but
June,
you
right?
need an ambulance, you need a fire truck,
Right.
so I mean, sooner or later, you're gonna need more.
I know,
mean,
but how
'cause,
much
I
do
mean,
we
that
push the
ambulance-
envelope
Good
and
one.
have them vote for it?
The
That's
ambulance
thing.
that we were looking at last year was nearly 300, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like
So-
Just saying, it was
290
also the Cadillac, so just
That was 200,000.
give them a chance to come up with a different number.
We can revisit this when we talk about the ambulance, if you guys wanna look at, as far as on the sourcing of money, whether you wanna put more into it. So why we did 75 is cause last year we increased it from 50 to 75.
Right.
Right.
And so, and last year was increased because they're hoping to take money out of it to pay for an ambulance, which never got approved.
Right.
So I didn't feel like it should go higher than, I agree with you, we could probably put a lot more in it, cause we need a lot of equipment. I don't wanna go too high, cause I don't want it to be
The
Turn down.
appropriations don't pass by a lot.
right, so I just,
They don't.
No.
no, so I just, so while, yeah, you can bump it up to 100 or 125, I mean, I'm scared that that wouldn't pass. So again, when we get to the ambulance in a couple of meetings down the road, we can talk about if we feel like we wanna bump that up higher. But I think we can manage with 75, I think we can go another year at 75 before we think about bumping it up, but I mean, I agree, we need to,
Yeah,
So-
pay some attention.
I mean, every year, either a fire truck or an ambulance has been voted on, and it's always.
well, and we got a little bit of a Band-Aid with this used fire truck that we just got, so it's a little bit of a Band-Aid. It doesn't solve the bigger issue, but it is a little bit of a Band-Aid, so an ambulance is a priority, but I don't wanna go up on this. We have other budgets that are going up a little bit, plus if we have to go out to the people for money for an ambulance, again, it's the total bill, I don't wanna be too high, so.
The optics aren't good.
I mean, seriously, I don't even know what the point is of putting an ambulance out
I know.
to the voters. I mean, because there is nothing that has passed. When was the last time a full truck was passed?
Well, again, we're looking at different
Right,
sourcing.
flat out purchase.
We're looking at different sourcing methods. There'll be enough in here to probably pay for half of the ambulance.
Well, I know, but if you're not talking about the CIPs,
Right.
and you're going to the voters and saying, we need a truck,
Right.
you know? I mean, I've seen some of those trucks leave the station and they're a scream, you know? They're
Part of
just.
it's
I hope
part of it
that-
is a
I hope that's
communication
not my
issue.
house.
So part of it is a communication issue, part of it is a support issue. And when I say support, it's support from the budget committee and the selectmen.
That's what I was
Right.
gonna say, because how
Amen.
many times have we put a fire truck out there and the selectmen vote against it?
You know, if you
Where the
if
budget
they don't
committees
support it,
arguing
why
between
it's
each
if you have
other.
half the selectmen that are against something and half the budget committee are against something, it becomes a very contentious issue.
People look.
Right.
But when
To
you're
see who
unanimous
voted for
across the
what.
board,
Before they vote.
Right.
100%.
I get that, but I'm concerned about 75,000 not being enough to build toward that.
We talked about this last year.
I'm
Right.
But they don't even have to take that money for the ambulance, they can leave that money in there and put the whole ambulance
Right.
on an article and just leave that money in there and keep letting it build 4 years, 5 years down the line.
but
You don't need to take.
but I
Take the whole
think
chunk out.
but I think right, but I think the town would vote for the appropriation where they're not gonna vote
Rather
for
than the ambulance.
yeah. I think the only way that this town is
They
gonna
know it's a regular
me too.
cost.
The only way that this town is gonna get another ambulance or another fire truck is through the appropriations. So I agree, I don't think you could go up to 100,000. I think that many zeros is gonna be, people are gonna go, yeah, maybe not. Yeah.
So the lifespan of a new ambulance is basically 10 years. Some keep them longer, but it's like a computer. When you go out and buy a computer, 6 months down the road, technology changes.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm not the type of person who's out for flash or anything like that. I want something that's going to be good for the community and not, the only thing I actually asked for was a built-in GPS in the dash.
Oh, what a great idea.
And the reason is because we do mutual aid. We do, because I don't know where all the roads are in town yet. So I would love to have a GPS to guide me. So that was the only flash.
I don't know where all the roads are.
Yeah. So that was like the only flash that I said, throw that in there, just because, it is what it is. The technology in not only the inside of the ambulance, but on also the outside. The suspension that we have in A1, which is our oldest ambulance, is airbag suspension.
Mm-hmm.
it's 14 years old now. It doesn't ride that well. The new ambulances, it's a liquid suspension. It gives a better ride. It lowers up and down to help with the height of the patient coming out of the ambulance with a stretcher. We have people who are 5'1", and we have people who are 6'2", 6'5". So the lifting, so the technology is one reason, and plus two, the actual, the truck is getting in age. If we did a 10-year plan on, my thought process is we should be replacing buying an ambulance every 5 years. Unfortunately, I understand that won't happen. And I understand because people want to keep their taxes lower, and I understand that. But every 10 years, if you go beyond that, you're losing trade-in value. Yeah, I mean, it's just different things that you're losing.
But you gotta remember like that, what is it, A1, all the stuff that happened with that ambulance when we got it, like, there was an added payment, there was a stretcher that was added onto that we never even voted on. So of course everybody was pissed about that, so that's why you're having a hard time. Maybe now people are real, then you had 200,000 that was spent, where was it spent? So maybe now the people are realizing.
And that was exactly the issue why it was a $300,000 bill last year, because there was all the add-ons, everything was added on that wasn't disclosed, so it looked like a $300,000 ambulance when it was really like a $180,000 ambulance and all the toys.
I thought it was all disclosed.
No, because if you look at the actual lease agreement, which I brought up for years, there was an extra year added onto it somehow. And then we added the stretcher onto it that we didn't vote on.
Now, Jerry, what you're talking about is last year, yes, it was disclosed, but what people saw was a $300,000 for an ambulance.
That's right.
Yes, it was disclosed, but that's all they focused on was the ambulance and
amount.
a $300,000.
Yeah.
So that's
because it was
my
never
goal.
broke
It's my
down.
goal to make us find a way that people will vote yes on an ambulance this year, which is why we're going to have a strategy session to try to come up with a way that we think is going to work, and then we will present it to you guys. If at that time you want to think about increasing the CIP, then we can certainly talk about that. I mean, but I just There's other stuff that may get put on the ballot as far as equipment as well. You know, you're dealing with a department that runs ambulances and stuff inside, okay, and you have per diem people that are staying in that station all day long.
Right.
Guess what they're smelling? All the exhaust fumes, okay? We have no ventilation system to take care of that. You go to an auto mechanic shop, and if they're doing work running a car, they stick a hose on the exhaust and it goes a little circle in the garage door out the door. We don't even have that.
So they're running a risk of carbon monoxide
Well,
poisoning?
there's all sorts of, that's diesel, so you think about all the contaminants in there, and so yeah, it's a safety problem. But the units to do it, okay, aren't cheap. So again, it's something that, as our fire department has evolved from a volunteer, which just, you know, to where it is now, that causes other areas that have been neglected. And so do we maybe try to do one station this year and then another station another year? I don't know. But, you know, we're getting quotes on that. So there's a bunch of moving parts here. I mean, I think the ambulance is the primary focus. So, but that's why we're all sitting down, you know, next week to try to figure that out.
Thank goodness we don't have a police department to pay for it, that's all I can say.
That's another issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another issue. Okay, anybody else have any other questions?
I have a comment, I think the chief did an excellent job.
Yeah.
Explanation.
I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Very nice.
For not knowing what's going on, huh?
Not bad.
What's been going on, that's what I got.
All right, we done
Yep.
with fire EMS? Thank you so much. I mean, you can hang out, but we're just gonna go over minutes.
No, we're gonna go back to the station.
Fuck out of here. I have it. I'll make you a copy of that.
All right.
What did you say?
Nothing.
I am.
Oops. This is my job.
Keep everybody on.
I thought what he said nothing. Field trip, I've been waiting all this, the only reason I came tonight was to go with the damn ambulance.
If I was low enough, totally forgot. Thank you, Laura. Keep me straight.
If you have any questions during the week or anything, I mean, don't hesitate. Give us a call. We'll answer anything we can.
It's not me.
So.
Oh, it's Laura. Wait, I turned mine off. I did. That's why I thought at first it was mine, because it felt like it was right there.
So let's go back to the minutes. If you guys can start going over the 124 minutes.
Do we have minutes, extra copy here?
Where was some?
No, that's all my stuff.
This one?
Well, there's two of them.
That's 131.
And there's 124.
Okay.
Are we doing 124 first?
Yeah. That would make sense.
Oh my God, what did I do?
Oh, this is page 2 or something. Yeah.
Flip it over.
Thank you. Okay, 124 first. Which I can do yet.
How did I already lose them?
But Jeff, have you noticed the pothole situation?
Oh, did I give them to you to copy and then did I lose?
As in
Oh my God.
being filled or?
Oh, they need
Oh,
to be.
that's because I gave it back to you.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of, but I've seen a bunch of, he's been doing a lot.
Cam.
Oh, yeah.
I need another copy of them though.
Well, it's that.
Okay. I'm like, I had the original, I swear.
This is her original.
There's more, some Frosties that I haven't seen in a couple of years, there's a couple, but all of a sudden this year they're back. So.
Yeah, all of a sudden they just appeared.
Yep.
Blink of an eye.
No, I know he's been out doing potholes, because I've seen a bunch of fresh stuff, I think today, so
I
I think
made a
he's been out.
prediction that he was gonna be out doing potholes soon.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be warming up the next couple of days,
She's
so.
on the telephone, but can you make Becky a copy of these?
Of what?
The 124 minute?
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry. I just don't, I can't go back. Otherwise I would do it myself.
You can't go back there? Why?
Geez, we're not supposed to be back there behind that.
No. Off limits.
Yeah. You didn't know that? Yeah, you're not supposed to go back there.
Well, I just handed her a piece of paper. I don't really.
Don't go back there.
Or else.
Yeah.
Penalties.
Or else.
Huh?
You know whose fault that is?
Well, who's that?
Me.
Oh. Why?
Because I used to go back there and Ben didn't like it. So.
Oh, really? Call Lebanon Police Department on you. You arrested.
That's your original back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I could circle a typo on the original.
It's okay. I'll keep it.
I think I'm gonna.
Birthday.
It's my birthday.
I can handle it.
Oh,
You get to
happy
go- you get to go home
Valentine's
early.
Day. Thank you.
Today's her birthday.
They might call you
And
tomorrow,
your
Chip's
birthday.
tied up in here.
Yeah, really.
You'll find him in the morning.
That's actually a cool birthday to have. Mine was 9/11. Yeah.
Okay, did anybody have any changes so far on 124?
Not so far.
Thank you.
I wasn't here for the whole meeting.
That's impossible.
Still kick people though.
Yeah, Chris is in charge of. I don't know if that's good.
Yeah.
I will not be here the 28th.
I heard that.
Okay.
If you want to.
Either will the secretary.
I will be on time.
I'm gonna be
28th?
here. The actual secretary, she won't be here.
I will actually be on time for the next 2 weeks because the center is closed
Yes!
and I'm not touring.
Well, doing that, I'm not gonna be there next week.
You're not?
I have a meeting.
Till the 21st?
Yeah.
Oh my word. I'm still back in December.
I'll email you to remind me.
Okay.
Which email should I use?
The budget. I just don't check it. And once I had a conversation with Chris and he's like, I'm gonna be working, it was like,
Can we do earlier that week then, if you don't have to be
Good
late?
idea.
We can, yes.
Can't we be like 6? I love
Okay.
my bedtime.
I just
Yeah.
I just left
I
work
like
at
supper
6.
time.
Oh, okay.
And I'm in
No.
Portland.
No,
so
it's totally okay. Just didn't know if somebody else had a reason they couldn't be here. Which is a good reason.
I like the way you pared this down. That is very wordy. Very nice.
Sorry.
I like it.
I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Did we ever find out for sure whether North Berwick is gonna pay for half of that ACO dog trap?
That's what it says in the.
Yeah.
I know, but I thought it was
No, they did say.
they
told Chip
already
that
have
they
it
were
on their
gonna pay.
budget.
Yeah, they were
Chip
paying.
check it out.
You told Mary, you told me that.
Oh, okay.
Mary told me.
I don't understand the last year budget due to uncertainties. What does it mean last year budget?
Oh, are you talking about cemetery?
Yeah.
The uncertainty of what it would cost to take on Prospect Hill Cemetery.
I guess that bullet just.
Was that not?
So last year's budget was 49,000.
Oh.
So it was that high because of the uncertainty of taking on Prospect Hill.
Got it.
So there was a lot of buffer built into it. Yeah, pairing, adding.
I'll motion to accept the corrected minutes of 1/24/2018 as they are.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Oh, now on to 131. I have a lot to say about these ones.
Okay,
I have nothing
Jerry,
to say. I wasn't
yeah.
there.
Have you been turning in a copy of the minutes to Dale to put in the book?
I send them to Jenny. Jenny's on those emails, so she has them, so she can post them.
Okay, what they needed last year, I don't know if that's still the case, but.
Is Dale still here? I thought she was retiring.
Is she?
Dale?
No.
Oh.
Okay.
Did she
but
tell you
this
something she didn't tell anybody?
Sign-in sheet is supposed to go with the copy that was in her book.
We have a sign-in sheet today?
Oh.
I don't think
Yes.
Of course we do.
Oh,
Of course.
I can sign it.
We've had it the whole
I
time.
can sign it.
The secretary hasn't.
That's right. So this could be the copy for 131 that goes to the town clerk.
Why do you need a sign-in sheet?
I have a copy of it.
They just want the signatures, I guess.
Okay, so what
She
is
seemed to
today?
think it was
I
important.
didn't sign in tonight, so wherever
I
it
know.
is.
We're
No,
getting
because
into
they
it.
just did one.
I'm getting there.
So
Completely forgot about it.
my
I
hugest
came in
issue
on two wheels.
is on the 131, the discussion about the bridges is like
How far down?
is
it before
right here.
recreation?
Is it before what?
Before recreation.
I don't know where's recreation.
It's under CIPs.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. I'm looking at 124.
So it says 40,000 is our share of the New Bridge Road project. That's incorrect. It's like 130 or 140.
No, but it's 40,000 per year.
Yeah, but that's
for either
addressed
2 or
down
3
here.
years.
That's addressed down here, but it says clearly 40,000 is our share of the New Bridge Road project. That's incorrect. It's
Is that
it's
per year?
130,000. Well, like I said, if you look down further,
Right,
it
it
says
says 3 or
30
4
or
years.
40,000 a year. But this sentence clearly says that 40,000 is our share of the project. That's
Okay,
incorrect.
Okay,
Why don't we just take
So it
that
should
one
be-
right out?
Just take it right out. Yeah.
Or 40,000 this year.
Well, it should be
No, because it says down there 10% or 40,000 for 3 or 4 years.
correct. So
let's
just take
get
that
rid of
out.
that line.
The entire line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not finding that.
Right here.
Oh, that's 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's 131.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
I was looking for
That top line.
But just divide it out with percentages. It's
Right.
fine.
You probably should leave in New Bridge Road.
Right.
So you know what
That's
the
what
heck that's
we
all
need to
about.
leave that in New Bridge Road, so we know
I
what we're
recrossed
talking about.
I already crossed it out.
Well, you can add it.
Okay,
You
and
got plenty of time.
So,
Is the sign sheet
line.
somewhere?
yeah.
Oh,
So, right. I'm trying to figure out how to
Secretary.
just cross it out. What it said.
We have to
I'm
identify.
sorry.
Down here.
I'm going this way.
She's not paying
Get more
attention.
people
What
signed
the
in.
bridge is.
Yeah,
Ugh.
it's talking about
This-
that.
I get
But it never
anxiety
said-
on
it
Wednesdays
never
Oh, I
now.
says that
see.
sentence.
Well, it's
I
at
see.
the 9.
Yeah,
I
we
get
can't, we can't cross out that
To make
entire
breakfast at
sentence.
5 a.m.
No, we already decided that.
Pancake
We
day?
can't.
No, we already decided
No.
we can't.
Oh, okay.
Right. So if you
Cause-
We had
just
to
go,
leave in New Bridge Road.
yeah,
so cross out 40,000 is
Yeah.
our share
Right.
of the,
I hyphenated the
okay.
New Bridge Road.
So the next thing I found, I guess that doesn't matter, cause we'll probably come to it later, but where it's talking about the town office needing a new roof, we didn't get a number on that, right?
We didn't. Do we have an estimate on the new roof for the town office? I was gonna ask about that too.
No,
Okay.
Where's the town? Where's the roof?
Which one's station one?
it's not a new roof anyways.
Should do.
It's, the discussion
Oh, the
was that the
roof,
town
okay.
office
Needs
needs
a
a
new
new
roof.
roof because it
Is
leaks.
Is
This,
that one station?
That was the discussion.
Leaks.
Roof
You
repair.
have to know.
Roof
Oh.
repairs, okay.
You know everything.
It used to be, I don't know what it is now.
So we should change that
Yeah.
to the town office needs
Which one's station one?
roof
Roof
repairs
repairs.
because it leaks.
So station one needs new floor.
Yeah, station 1 is
Yeah.
the one that needs the floor.
Station.
We don't have
What
to put
happened
that
with
in,
the
that's
roof
my
on-
brain.
Fire
Over there.
station one, okay.
The place was gone.
It should say that.
That was leaking, they said it needed to be redone, that was only a $10,000 estimate on it
When was that?
last fall.
Haven't heard a thing about it.
Almost sometime, I think.
Haven't heard a thing.
Which one?
That was after it was condemned.
Fire station one.
Station
Right.
2.
Was that before or after that was condemned?
After it was
10 years later.
It was just last year or sometime, when, 'cause
I
it
haven't-
snowed.
I haven't heard a thing.
With the pledge.
I haven't heard a thing that is leaking. Doesn't mean it's not, but I
I don't
nobody.
know what happened to
There was a
Allegiant.
shingle missing, I know that.
Anything else, Deb? Anything else, Deborah?
It was sitting on the end.
yeah.
You're just really good at the
Well,
delete sign at that
The
point.
next thing is that I just wanted to kind of give you a little heads up, because one of the last bullet points on the second page says discussion of commercial haulers, information received from MDEP. So I don't know how many of you actually watch the selectmen's meeting videos, but if you watch Thursday's video 2/8/18, you'll see like a whole lot of information on transfer station commercial haulers, and tomorrow night's video will also continue with that.
Okay,
So
but that doesn't
just a
change.
heads
Does this
up.
need to change?
No,
Doesn't
I
change.
like I said, it was
Bring it
just
to
a
our
heads up,
attention.
just bringing it to, I said that, right? Okay, yeah, just
Okay.
bringing it to your attention that there's a lot of information between the 8th and
Okay.
the meeting that will happen tomorrow.
You're the artificial watcher.
I watch every video.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, just
I won't see
listen,
30
if I don't
seconds.
watch it that day, I watch it the next. There's not very many that I miss. If I miss it, it's just because I didn't know it was there.
I miss them all.
I don't miss many.
Any other?
I wasn't here, so I didn't know.
Oh, where's the minute?
Everybody sign the sign-in sheet?
Yes,
Okay.
right when they walked in.
Did you sign it, Jenny?
Okay, so did anybody else
Get all
have
the
any
guests?
changes to the?
You get all the guests?
Minute?
I'm awake.
So
With all the
did I,
guests on there
did I
too?
No.
miss a discussion about, have we decided what
No,
to do about
and the
secretary?
selectmen never signed it either.
Yeah.
You did miss that.
No, we didn't miss it.
Did you sign it this time?
We just
Okay,
decided
that
that
Laura
since
signed
she
it.
hasn't shown up and we're almost done,
We're not gonna
Kiki
bother.
Right when they walked in.
we're not gonna do anything.
No,
So,
okay.
Obviously,
I
she
saw
doesn't
it.
wanna be.
Well, she should let someone know.
Okay,
Yeah.
so any other changes to the 31st?
no.
I make the motion, we accept the minutes.
Okay, so wait.
We're changing.
Okay, so the only I have 3 changes.
Correct.
Does anyone
So,
know whether
that-
it's 3
Yes.
or 4 years for the bridge?
So it should be 3.
Show them we discussed it, you're gonna tell us.
Is it
It
3 more years?
It
Or,
should be 3,
CIP for the
but
new
depending
bridge.
on the end result.
You're gonna tell us when,
okay,
So
so
that's
3
why
or
it says
4
three
is
or
accurate.
Like 130,000.
So that's accurate.
So it, right.
Oh, okay. I
Okay.
put that in there.
Yes, that, the New Bridge Road.
Okay, so yeah, New Bridge
We
Road,
could go to 140.
Station 1 is the one that needs a new floor.
I think we did this.
The town office needs roof repairs,
Correct.
and Pledge of Allegiance is
Allegiance.
missing.
Pledge of allegiance.
Wait a minute, what's missing?
Allegiance.
Pledge
Under
of
new
Allegiance.
business.
Under-
The Pledge of.
Pledge of.
You take your pick, apparently.
Okay, any other changes?
That sounds good.
Okay, now go ahead, Judy.
Make your motion, Judy.
Oh, I make a motion that we accept the minutes with all the changes.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Did you want to vote, Judy? Okay. It's unanimous. All right. Old business. You're up.
I think I left for you a dispatch. I finally got that number. The average is 2.1167% with the CPIW. That's the average over 12 months.
What,
Could you say it again, I'm sorry, Joe.
2.1167.
It's on the sheet that I handed out.
I don't think I
You do.
got that
It's
one.
in that. It's this.
Oh, this right here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that was
Oh,
just that.
At the bottom of it, I wrote down the 2.11, which is the average.
Okay, I got
And
it.
that's what the contract, that's when it goes up. So that moves the services line for dispatch to 50,204.
52,000.
No, 50,204.
And it's up how much?
Dispatch.
That's just for the, that's 3001, which is just for services. Town repeater and the towers there's no change to that. That's just for Sanford, that's for
How
the
much was
services.
the increase?
I don't have that here.
I thought you just said it 2 point
Well, it's
something.
2.1167%.
Oh,
Right
wow.
here.
Oh, okay.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay, I didn't know what this was.
Yeah, CPIW, so that's what it goes by. It uses the average of the 12 months, preceding 12 months of the calendar year.
Oh.
You take all those numbers for 2017 and add them up and divide by 12, you get 2.11.
I get it now.
So that's that. I think you got a vendor list out there somewhere. I think you got that you needed. You also got the library donation sheet that Jordan got for you, so I think I'm all set with that. And then you got a question on insurance liability. So yes, summer camp does need insurance liability by itself, and it's predominantly, it's like an accidental death and dismemberment type of medical policy for like when they take field trips, that type of thing, and so it's not part of our liability policy. They have to have a separate rider.
Really? So do they pay for that, or do we?
Well, so it's I think it's on her, if I remember correctly, it's on her budget. Okay, but well, I don't know. So it's at one point it was just lumped into our insurance because our insurance bill includes that. Then at one point it got told that they have to do that separately.
Right.
Okay, and I don't wanna, so I think what makes sense to the selectmen is under the insurance department, which we haven't done yet because we still are waiting on stuff, but under the insurance, we're gonna do a separate line item for summer camp liability. And we'll just make that a separate line item so you can clearly see what that is. So she doesn't have to put it in her budget. It'll be paid by the government. I mean, it's a town department.
Right.
And it's just, but that way, when people vote for insurance, it clearly is showing that they're paying for a summer camp liability rider, and they can see what the cost of that is.
That's a good idea.
So that's, right now, it's just lumped into our general insurance and you don't see what it is.
So it'll be separate for the next.
So I'll do a separate line item for next year, it will be for the next year, that's,
19.
so which is probably, and so therefore, that will be here. I don't even, we even question whether she used to have to even come before us because we don't vote on her budget.
Right.
It's never, so it's not a budget committee recommend, blah, blah, I mean, you don't do that, so it's, so,
I've
I'm
always
not-
felt bad for her having to come.
I'm not even sure there's a reason why, she's one of the best, she does, so I mean, again, it's, because she's a department, we need to make sure from the money side that she's bringing in money to spend, and, which we do as a selectman, but that's just an operational thing. Budget committee's not operational, you're trying to give voters recommendations on money that taxpayers are spending, and this is not taxpayer funded. The only thing that is taxpayer funded essentially is that insurance, which that will be done in the insurance budget. So
Do they all have to have like a national level background checks and like all that stuff because they're at the school? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sure they
it's who I don't know. I mean that's a question for her.
If you're dealing with kids, I think they're supposed to.
I think so too, but that's why,
That's
because
not-
I was just wondering who pays for that, like who pays for those background checks? Like is it done through the school? Cause I didn't see
Are they
it on the
licensed?
budget, or
Is
do
it all
we do it here?
Well,
Do we
there's
get
a
it?
main thing that we can do a lot of main stuff for free.
I'm not talking about the main ones, but there's been discussion on another things about national level. So I just wanted to know if other people that are doing things with kids are having national level background checks or just the main state one.
I don't have national background check.
You don't?
Nope.
I think I just have state one.
Yeah. All the state
You what?
requires. I don't
I
have
just have
fingerprinting, I don't have
state
anything.
When somebody comes from out of state to work for you.
Yeah, that's what I have
The
for
background check
nursing
them.
license.
Yeah, but in Maine or,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Just me.
I think
Just
if there's
whatever they
anything
register,
going
if they
on-
register that they've lived in a different state, then I can pull up theirs as well. But that's only if they disclose that.
So really, even as a
I have no
teacher,
right
you
to-
have
If you
that
hire
like
somebody
the
to
state
manage
of
it.
Maine.
Your
Well, the
whole
fire
Yeah.
department, we used to have to go.
Well, not everybody is
Yeah.
doing your homework.
Right,
But
I
I
think
also-
if they came from someplace else, like
When
Jenny
I
said. you
file
might
for
have
my
to-
license, they
Okay.
also do it.
So we still have outstanding questions about Bernstein Shore. I swear that name is backwards.
Prospect Hill,
Yeah, the $10,000. Did you find out about specifically keeping it separate from the other return?
yes, I can, whether we do that or not, I don't know whether we'll do that or not.
So you're debating as to whether to do that now?
No, as I said before, yes, so I checked, yes, we can keep it separate. But there may be reasons, the board hasn't decided, and we haven't put any money there yet to do that. And the board hasn't decided, there's reasons to do it that way, there's reasons against, there's pros and cons because if you only do a Prospect Hill, then it's gotta be Prospect Hill. And if you don't have the money, now you just tied up the money. So, there's reasons to do that and there's reasons against doing that, and so the board hasn't decided, and that will be a.
So you wouldn't put it right on the ballot that it was 10,000?
It doesn't go on the ballot.
Oh,
It's
you're
already
talking
been
about the
voted on.
prepayment,
Right, a retainer. So, so you're still thinking about keeping the 10,000 as a retainer, but not necessarily.
The Prospect Hill?
Right.
But not necessarily locking it into Prospect Hill.
That is correct, and the reason, and we may very well, and because the 10,000 that's currently there is probably already now spent.
No, we just got that.
So we have a case that has been going on since 2000. It started in 2015. That is now with our insurance company for settlement, and there is a $10,000 deductible. So that we're on the hook for, regardless of whether they pay out or not. They may settle, they may not settle, but we're on the hook because there's attorney fees for 10 grand. So it's why you have insurance, because they may end up settling for 40,000 and we're only paying 10. Okay, and that may only be enough to cover attorney fees, not even the settlement. So we don't have to pay attorney fees. The attorney that's doing it is paid by, so yeah, that's a deductible. And so I'm not sure, because that's at Bernstein, I can't necessarily pay that to the insurance company, but what I might start doing is 10,000 in the legal budget, pay that for the deductible, and then start using the 10,000 to draw off of that 10,000 for regular legal bills. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Our regular bills start drawing down that. So again, that was one of the reasons that 10,000 went over there, is because we had stuff in the pipelines. So
should that come under Prospect Hill Cemetery? Or should that be under?
No, this is not, this is unrelated to Prospect Hill.
Okay, so it's not the 10,000 you're talking
There's
about.
already 10,000 there from last year. So that may be gone, is what I'm saying. So a new 10,000, while I would like it to be for Prospect Hill, because if I don't do anything with it, it just goes away. It goes back to the general fund, and then in a year or two or whatever, if we have to do legal work for Prospect Hill, I'm now gonna have to ask for legal stuff for Prospect Hill, and people are gonna say, well, what happened to the money that we already gave you? So.
Is that what
They're gonna
that
say that
10,000
anyway.
was originally for Prospect Hill?
So while it makes a lot of sense to do that, but I don't wanna tie the hands of either myself or the next selectman. If you only need 5,000, well then how do I, and so if there's a way to get out of it, then why? I mean, we can make the intent, that's where our intentions are, but to make it a concrete rule, well then, if you don't need it, then how do you get the rest of the money? Or if the selectmen say all of a sudden there's some other bill, big legal bill that the selectmen need to pay, that money's there. I mean, there's some flexibility that you lose. So again, the board hasn't decided yet.
Okay, so the only other thing we've got on old business is secretary.
We
Yeah,
had,
we just talked
we had
about
the
Yeah.
payroll, we asked for, we needed.
The vendor.
No, the
I
secretary.
thought we asked for the payroll too.
Oh.
Employee payroll. For the weekly and from previous year.
Right.
I have vendors and payroll, yeah, I do have, you guys that get, I wasn't in charge of that project, you guys didn't get payroll?
No,
You only got
I don't
vendors?
remember.
We just got vendors.
You only got vendors, okay, alright.
Good catch.
Someone's sharp
Um,
at this time of night.
I wanted to ask about the decal for the
Me too,
CEO.
Skip, but I still wanna go to bed.
Not yet,
Not yet.
but I'm not sure how that reflects on the budget committee.
You ask that every week.
Well, it's kind of an unanswered
Old business.
question.
Well, it's an operational thing, so we'll get one.
So,
What about the secretary?
secretary.
Yeah.
I think we should just give it up. I mean, she's
Yeah.
not gonna come, we're almost done, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of meetings left.
Wait, I mean, I'm concerned about whose job, and I'm not saying it should, but whose job is it to kind of follow through with that? Because now we're getting ready to have another election, and it's advertised out there are 3 seats available for budget committee.
Yeah,
So if she's not showing up, we may actually have 4 seats.
4 seats, right?
yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Well, my job was to call her because I'm the only one that's talked to her and ask her to resign.
so if she resigns because the nomination papers don't
Send her a
come out
letter.
until March 2nd,
You should do send her a letter.
we could actually,
Send her
Yeah,
letters,
I
sign
would
this.
do
Right.
that. I would
I
put it in
mean, nomination papers don't come out till March 2nd. And they're not even due in until April 13th. So by rights, if she resigns, we could have a 4th seat available and open for somebody that would show up.
Well, let me
Right.
ask
You
this,
know?
don't the selectmen sign the appointment certificates?
Not if you're elected.
Not
If
that
you're
we're-
elected. If you're,
Oh,
She's-
I gotta be
She
elected.
was elected.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna go bang out.
you don't need to.
You don't need
You
to.
don't need to do
All you have
that.
to collect is get 25
I'm the only
It's
one
not
that's
like we
ever.
have hundreds of people running for things in this town.
So was she elected?
Yes.
Is any of the seats available still have terms left over that I don't have to run again?
You can be appointed to the secretaries.
Well, you want me to give you my term?
No, but you're here. There's 3 other seats that aren't here.
Jenny, you just need 25 signatures, and you don't
I
have
can
to
do that in
count-
the morning at
You don't
daycare.
have to
That's
campaign.
right.
Just-
It is.
just
That's right.
pass
That's
it
all
around
you
the
need.
table.
Yeah.
All you need is 25
So,
signatures.
I mean, I guess that's my concern is to see if we can maybe hear
Just
from
bring 'em
her
in, we'll all
before
sign it.
next week and
Yeah.
know if
Get all
she's
those people
resigning
out of the
and
way.
get her written resignation in, and that way we can ask for that seat
Why do you run
to be placed on the ballot.
Why do you run for something and
I
then
don't
not do it? I don't understand.
Maybe something changed in her life, we don't know.
Right.
Well, I know, but I mean, this isn't isolated.
I know.
Right. It's
Did-
not.
So
Or
I
there should
don't
be some
understand.
communication,
And
one
this-
way or the other.
and this
I know,
guy-
just flip
Like-
us the
I mean,
bird.
this isn't a dig on her or.
No, I get it.
But
Right.
I'm just, you know, I
get it.
I don't know why you would put in the effort and then not put in the effort. I mean, if you care enough to about the town, to run for the position, show up for what you were elected for.
You're preaching to all the people that do show up.
I know.
That are
I'm
here.
preaching to the choir. I know.
We all sit right here with you.
No.
Maybe
Yes.
she realized that we didn't support the police department. Maybe that's why.
I know.
She's here.
That was it.
Chris's strong issue.
Well,
What do you mean? I got big shoulders. Ain't the first time I've been told that.
Okay, I missed it. I do remember the question,
Yeah,
but
'cause she,
Yeah,
It
she
didn't
was
stick
very
out
upset
enough.
about that.
yeah, she wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Police department.
And I don't even know her, but I saw that.
Oh, yeah, very clearly. Yeah.
well,
Very
frankly,
clearly.
I think we're better covered with the stadies than we ever were.
Mhm.
The other way?
Yeah.
Did you see
I
the
can-
Board of
They're
Selectmen's video?
I can
about-
almost
Oh, you gotta
guarantee
watch
you that
it.
a police issue will not be coming on the ballot.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, no.
Really?
Watch the
So
video.
much.
It was
People
very
just
eye-opening.
Vote for it.
Huh?
People just won't vote for
He,
it.
he had the
Well,
state
no,
We need-
yeah, it's
we
just,
need
it's just
other
not,
things.
Like a town
just,
better covered with.
I'm still waiting to hear back from
We
him.
would ever be covered with
I
like
actually went to
$600,000
expedition to the
contract work with.
head towards Sanford.
Well, we weren't well covered with them
At all.
before. You know, we tried to get the town to hire the state police,
Right.
Yeah.
and because of he who shall not be named, Yeah. Yeah. It went south.
Yeah.
You know. But we were looking at having 2 stadies.
Yeah.
And it went south.
I don't even think
I thought
they do that contract
that
work
was a
anymore.
no-brainer.
State police.
Yeah.
Not according to that video anymore.
Just the county.
Yeah.
All right.
So
can
what
I
are
make
we
a
doing
motion?
about the secretary?
Watch the video,
Nothing,
though.
We're just
It's
leaving
very
it
good.
in?
Yeah, I still need to contact.
Oh, you
I
got
just need
something
to
else
make
to
more.
say?
Are you contacting the secretary?
Do you want me
Everybody calls
to
me
reach
that.
out to her and see if I can't get her?
She's always on the computer. Let her do it.
She can't escape.
You
I
know,
see if she comes on at 2 in the morning. I see
I
if she
think
comes on
I
at
think
8 in
that
the
between
Really?
Oh, yeah,
between
on all the
Jenny and I, we could keep it covered.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you don't mind Jenny? I mean, I
She's over here.
I do not mind.
No,
I hear the
I
door
don't
It's
mind.
when you guys go through these and tear them all apart. That's what I'm gonna
She can't wait for you to get here. We hear ding
Did
ding
you
and
see
we
me
go,
though? I held it the whole time.
You did throw the book at me.
I did not say I was thankful that you're here. I didn't. I just kept writing.
All right, do we need a
And now I'm
motion?
gonna write what time we're out of here.
Do we need
Wait
a
a
motion
stand
about
we
that?
do.
We can't
do.
yet.
He's got a.
Oh.
He's got a
So-
speech.
When are we talking about the
can't
budget
wait.
committee finals? This
Talk about it.
Is that
I think we'll talk about it when we do the miscellaneous meeting, because we've got miscellaneous stuff to do.
okay. And
So
we
is
have
this
plenty
new
of time.
business?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
We get a new heading for you.
I have to warn you, your
Next-
hand will be tired after writing what he says.
Next week.
That's one-
I paraphrase.
That's one thing I think that, like,
Plain.
to write all this where it's on video, I don't even think you need to write all everything
I
down.
agree.
That's
I've got,
like me. I think we should discuss what budget we're addressing, who's here,
Right.
what time we started, what time we get done. Because if anybody wants to watch the video, they can watch the video. I mean, we've sat here for 25 minutes trying to figure out who made a donation for a chip thing, which we never even found out who made the donation. So it's like
Just crossed it out.
we're just sitting here spinning wheels doing nothing.
I don't think that was
So it
in
has
the
to, your minutes, your official minutes have to include any motions
Right.
that were made
Okay,
and
but
how
we
they
weren't
were
making a
voted.
motion on who did the
No,
donation.
but I'm just saying that you didn't say that when you were just going through that. They have to include motions and the vote. They
Okay.
have to.
But some of the stuff that we're talking about, and like I said,
Yeah,
we're sitting
don't
here
have to
spinning
be-
our wheels over nothing.
They can be.
Like last week, the 2 weeks ago when we met here, this is under new business, okay?
Okay. I skipped right over that one.
One thing is, we sat here for 45 minutes going over the meeting minutes from the previous week. And one thing is, I don't think, we didn't have a quorum, so we just sat here like going over the minutes, waiting for somebody to show up. While Shirley sat here, the selectmen sat here. I don't think that's right for them. I don't think it's right for the one that's doing the budget. I think we should do a time limit instead of waiting till 7:15 before our meeting starts. Because that's the whole reason we started at 7, was so we'd have a quorum here, and we didn't have a quorum, so that meeting should have been canceled. That's my opinion. Because we're paying the selectmen to sit here twiddling their thumbs, watching us talk about minutes for 45 minutes. That's my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but,
almost $10.
That makes sense.
well, it doesn't matter, they could be doing something else instead of just sitting here.
Like going home.
I mean, like Jenny, you know, she probably wants to go home and go to bed, instead we're sitting here at 9:30, and we're still discussing stuff that really don't need to be discussed.
I
Well,
just
those-
feel
those
bad for
minutes.
that woman who was here and was just waiting for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah,
I
which
thought it was unfair to her.
doesn't even make sense, because we need a quorum, we didn't have a quorum, that meeting should have been canceled, done with it. Go to the next meeting.
Okay, but we do know that Becky's gonna be here at 7:30.
Okay, but what time? Is she gonna be here at 7:05? Is she gonna be here at 8:30?
It depends how
Okay,
long.
that week there
The
was
next
7:45.
she's gonna be here
That
early.
week there was
she got-
7:45.
It was like, yeah, it was
So how much?
She got here about 20 till.
I had an
Okay.
observation. When I have an observation, it's an extra debriefing time. So.
But we don't know,
I
we don't
have
even
no
know if you're
control
gonna
over
show up.
I'm
I know, but
absolutely gonna show up.
It's not her
I
problem.
always show
There
up.
are other members
Right.
of this
There
board
should
that
have
should
been-
be here, and
there
Becky
should have been a
told
quorum.
people
Okay, but we didn't have
from
a
the
quorum.
beginning that she was
We
gonna
didn't
be
have a quorum, the meeting starts at 7.
Six.
6.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There's 7 of us here tonight.
Well, we could have started the meeting without.
No.
We're talking about the previous meeting.
No, yeah.
No, that was 2 weeks ago.
So
we
we
did
knew
start
from
the
the
meeting.
beginning that Becky was gonna be that
I
late
was
every
horrified
week.
when I walked
So-
in and realized that we didn't have a quorum and the meeting hadn't started.
Yeah.
I mean, I
But
feel-
that could be anybody, anybody could, you know, any of us could not make the meeting, and who knows who's gonna make the meeting or not. So do we sit here till 9 o'clock waiting for the quorum?
If we don't have a quorum by 7:15, we should just call it,
You know what?
you know?
We could probably use our email to just let people know, I'll be there, I may be a few minutes late, I'll be there. And then you'll know ahead of time.
But if
whether
there's not a quorum,
Right,
then
no
we
quorum,
shouldn't
there's no
be
quorum.
sitting here waiting for someone to come.
No,
Right.
how long?
Oh, I was horrified at that.
And it ain't fair to the ones that are doing their budget or anything, cause now she's gonna reschedule after she canceled her plans.
We could do it on Tuesday.
That's just my opinion.
I think that makes sense, Chris.
It does.
The chairman should, in my opinion, should know if there's a quorum before the meeting.
Are you
And then-
important?
She can't even get anybody to answer her email.
Well,
Well, I think we need to talk about that, we need to straighten that out because Jerry's sending out a request for a reply and very few people are replying.
So for
So
some
never
And
reason,
I
Well,
went through that
maybe-
last year too,
maybe
trying to get
everybody
minutes.
didn't reply all, I don't know.
no,
I
for
don't.
some reason when I have gotten one
I
of
always
Jerry's
get hers.
emails
Well, I didn't get
all
anything
this
about the
season. I
canceled
get every
meeting.
one of Becky's,
See, and I don't know.
I got something from
but I don't
Becky
get, yeah.
at 11:06 because I
Yeah,
was
that's
checking
when
it
I
and
got it
checking it
too.
and checking it.
Yeah.
And got nothing. And you sent
Yeah,
the
I
email
saw
at
that. and I said,
6:11
"Oh my
and
gosh."
said that
She
had
sent it
canceled
at
in the
7:45.
morning. I never got that email.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we never.
But I
got
think
them.
we have to be better about communication.
And I was here for that
letting
meeting,
Jerry
by the way.
know what's
Yes.
going on.
Yeah, I know. Jenny told me that I should have emailed you guys because you're, but you know,
So you
I
didn't get
did.
the
I
memo.
did tell her. She asked me if I was gonna. She talked to. She emailed me on Tuesday and asked me if I was gonna cancel the meeting, and I told her that I would let her know by Wednesday morning. So she knew when I was gonna respond. And when and Chris and I had a couple of emails back and forth, and he said, "Well, I'm going to be working. I won't be there." And I knew that the weather was going to be bad. And it's like, well, we don't have to travel very far, but you know, okay. So we already didn't have a quorum until 7:45. You know, I didn't want to get here, drive in the crappy weather,
Right.
and find out we don't have another quorum.
Right.
If it's snowing, I'm not coming, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if we got a
he's
dust
busy
and I'm not
every time.
coming, so.
Working, yeah.
And I couldn't have gotten out anyway. My driveway wasn't plowed, so
Yeah.
So if
neither
we
was
don't
mine.
have a quorum, how long are we gonna wait?
that's what I was just
I
gonna
think
say.
7:15 is reasonable.
Okay, but if
But
we've got
Becky will
5
never
people
be
and
here
Becky's going to be
before.
here
Right.
at
Sometimes I can
7:30,
get out
True. I
quickly,
know.
You know,
and other
so-
times
7:30
it
then?
takes a while.
Well, how about
At least you should
If-
be able to start the meeting if we can do that, but you can't do
You-
it
you
without.
can't do it
that
without the
without
quorum.
you
quorum.
can't do that
You
without
can't
the
even
I mean,
quorum.
that's-
start the meeting?
no,
No.
it's in our bylaws.
You have to have a quorum before you can start the meeting.
Well,
Yeah.
take that out right away.
That's why we went over the minutes because there were a lot of. I mean, I
Yeah.
truly threw those minutes together. So I was grateful to have the editing, the help with editing because I just didn't have time for it. But
So we should make a
So-
decision.
well,
I think
I
15
think we need to
minutes
give Becky, if we know that Becky's coming, we need to give her a chance to get here by 7:30.
But we
If
can
we
start
have
the
5
meeting.
people.
If we have a quorum, we can start the meeting without her.
Oh,
The only
absolutely.
reason
Well,
we would
yeah,
have
which
to,
we've done every
the only
time.
reason we would have to wait for Becky is if there's no quorum.
We didn't have a
Right.
quorum.
Right, but if
Right.
we're sitting here with 4 people and she's number
And she-
5, we're just done.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we
And-
know that we're
right.
not gonna get to that
That's
point
right.
anyway.
But if there's only 4 people, I really truly believe that somebody should know so nobody comes to the meeting.
Right.
And sits here and waits.
Well, how are we
So-
gonna know?
Well, if we just
Well,
reply
what
on
about
the
Jenny?
email.
I mean, it sounds like you work, so you.
Poor
you're
Jenny,
kind of
she's
very-
getting another job.
No, just
Yeah.
send a
What about
message
if-
out, I'll be here and.
I do
no,
try
What
and-
about
I
if
do
people
try and check it
can't
at
come to the
sometime
meeting, they
Wednesday.
call or email Jenny, and if Jenny sees that 4 people are not coming, she calls her and says, you better call your meeting off because you won't have a quorum. Something like that.
The downside is that so when does this happen, on Tuesday? Because we're closed on Wednesdays, Jenny's not here.
Right.
And I also
That's why he
last
didn't
week
know that
planned
the
on
meeting
being
was
here, but I
canceled.
just was really late getting out of Boston and couldn't get here before 9.
Well, like already next week, I have to work next Tuesday, so I know, Wednesday, and I know I won't be here. I have to work.
Right.
So that puts us.
That's
That
me.
truly puts us down to 6.
So who's gonna be here next weekend? Next week.
Who knows?
Next week's the
Well,
21st.
No, he's not.
If it
Yeah.
snows.
Next
Right.
week is my birthday.
So that's 1, 2, 3,
Maybe I'll
But you
take the
never know,
day off.
something could happen.
5, 6.
Well, we're
6
all our
at
other
least.
We
members.
have 8.
I mean, you got a week, you got 7 days,
Yeah,
something could
don't
happen
we
in
have
7
eight
days, you don't
members?
know.
Yeah, where are all our other members?
Well, there's only 9. There's 8 of us here.
There are 8 of us here?
So Stephanie is your 9th.
Oh, yeah.
And Becky.
And
I
then
know.
Becky is an alternate who
Where's,
and she hasn't even been sworn in yet,
she hasn't?
as far as I know.
Oh, snap.
Becky Wakefield.
Yeah.
Becky Bethel.
I thought she only.
She's not responding to any emails either.
Becky
She's-
isn't?
No.
I mean, she resigned and then she decided, well, I want to get back on, and then but she hasn't, and so we reappointed her again, but she hasn't sworn in for that one, but she hasn't been to a
So do
meeting
we
since
need
then.
to
So
find
I-
an
We need about
alternate?
6
Can I not show up
alternates.
and you reappoint me to a race after we vote for this year? Just kidding.
Do we need to find another alternate? Have we put out anything on the website looking for another alternate? Cause I mean, an alternate would help if they were here.
Well, you can get
You missed
as
most
many
of it.
people applying as you want, and only a certain number will get elected,
have-
so if you have, if you have 6
change
people
that.
running, we have 4 openings, 2 people will be alternates.
The problem is when they come in now,
appointed.
Alternates.
Right. So he could have, if somebody came in and showed interest
if they come
today,
in now,
they could appoint them.
how are
as
they gonna
our
vote on
alternate.
everything? Because they don't even hear the meetings.
Yeah, I think it's too late for this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
email would work if it.
Certainly for a lot of the budgets,
Well,
yeah.
even a
You know,
text.
I know, does
Some, but
everybody
we don't
text?
text
Is
so
everyone a
bad.
But
text?
if we had an alternate,
I
we
live
should
through
have
text.
body here to make a quorum.
So if you want me to be the center person and you text me, I can totally be the text person, but I'm not email person.
I do better with text myself, just honestly, I look
But
at
if
my
everyone
email.
text
Check
messages.
before I check emails.
I
Right,
do
if
too.
everybody has the ability to text, I'm perfectly fine being a center person and being like, if you're texting me, you're not gonna be here, I'll just let everyone know.
This is a
Can
fairly
we do-
consistent group right here, I mean,
Right.
so
But
I don't see a lot of issues, I mean.
Does that mean I have to give up my cell phone if something happens?
I'm just,
Hand it over, I worry from
I'm saying, I think you guys are
Right.
worried, I think you guys are worried too much, I think you guys are worried too much right now, I just.
So, do our texts have to be available for freedom of information access also?
For what, if you're saying about going to a meeting? No.
Yeah.
There's no retention requirement for those.
Okay.
Okay, cause I know the email has to be,
It is the text is a public document, so let me be clear, the text is a public document.
But if the only thing we write on it is for coming on.
The retention requirements for that are non-existent.
oh, okay.
Because it's day-to-day kind of stuff, there is no retention requirement for those, so you could delete it immediately.
And you should know.
Exactly. So I'm just saying is that you can, those kind of things, you don't have to retain.
Well,
Unless
I
Becky makes
think-
But it is public.
I think if there's 4 of us, then we should call it at 7:15.
Right.
Because even if Becky comes, we still don't have a quorum.
Right.
So if we've got 4, I agree, we should call it at 7:15.
Yeah.
But if we've got 5 and we know
We
that
should
Becky's
wait.
coming,
Yeah,
then
then
we've
you
got a
wait.
quorum at 7:30.
I
And
agree.
I'm only
That
saying, I
makes
think that you guys they're overthinking this because right now, this is a pretty consistent group, what's happened so far all this year.
Right.
So, you know she's gonna be here. Joyce tells you when she's not.
Right.
She's the one person that has a conflict in once in a while, so she tells you.
Judy won't
And
be
so-
here the 28th either.
So I mean, you're getting,
He
people,
doesn't come and
people tell you, and so therefore, if you know on a Tuesday that it's gonna snow, there's gonna be flakes in the air, then call it. Because you know he won't be here. And as long as you know somebody else like Joyce, if it was Joyce and him at the same time, then you're not gonna have your, so I think you can manage it
So if
without.
we get a dusting, are you not gonna be here?
Probably not.
Are you out plowing?
I got more important
Sanding.
things in my life.
Are you out plowing? Even if there's a dusting?
He has to be ready.
Well, he doesn't know.
Plowing,
He has to be
sanding,
ready.
And you
Alright.
never know what a dusting
But
is.
this brings up another question is on the ordinance, if you wanna make changes as a committee to the ordinance to make future years a little bit easier to manage. And so maybe you drop, if it's 9, then you drop your quorum to 5, which is still a majority. Cause that could help. Or you boost the numbers up to 10, I don't know what you wanna do, but I'm just saying.
It was
Should be
11.
11.
Well, I'm just saying is whatever you wanna do, I think the select board is willing to put that in front of the people.
It was always 11.
If you wanna,
Change it. If we
you
have
wanna
one,
put in there some way that that the board can vote, a person who doesn't attend, that the board can vote, and maybe you make it unanimous, maybe you make it, I don't know. to have that person removed or whatever, so you can fill the seat. Again, I don't know,
We need to do what?
you know, but that's, you know, the select board is open to those changes if you wanna do that and give us.
Cause we had it in there that we could remove them if they didn't show up.
Right,
But
I
then,
know it was a
selectmen are
3
supposed to
meeting.
check with MMA to.
Right, the only issue is, right, where it's elected, that may not be.
Right. You can't.
So that's why we
You'd
took
have,
that
you'd
out.
have to recall them. You'd have to recall them. You
Yeah,
can't
recall
force
them.
them, you can't do anything, they're elected, so the only thing you can do is recall them.
And how do you do that?
Yet
You
you
have to
get a
have a special-
petition
Or you ask them to
with
resign.
whatever percentage,
Or they have to
you
resign.
ask them to
Right.
resign. So they can resign or you have to recall them. So it's one of those two things.
So
But you can't
perhaps
just
to say
dismiss
something
them.
about if they missed 3 consecutive meetings, we should send them a certified letter and ask them their intentions or ask them if.
I don't know how, a
Ask for
lot of
their
towns
resignation.
do that, so I don't know how they get away with
They
it,
don't
maybe they're not
have board,
elected.
they don't have elected. budget.
Elected
Oh,
budget
okay.
They have
committees,
appointed
yeah.
budget committees.
Okay, so we'll all look at this and see what we can change.
Good idea.
The only
Let's
thing we
do
did
that.
was, I think,
What else
Okay.
do you have?
That's it.
Okay, so.
I gave you more bullets than that.
They were blanks, I didn't use them.
Okay, so do we agree if we only have 4 people?
Then you
At
win.
7:15, it's just over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to reschedule.
Okay, do you have my phone number?
Does that need to be a
Yeah,
motion or is
probably
that
gotta
just
have
good
yeah,
like it
keep on
is?
going, yeah.
But if we have
As we do.
5,
I will be here if I said I will be.
okay. And
I
if
will
you
let
are
you
the
know.
5th, we're done. Because you're gonna be on time for the next 2 weeks.
Yes, I will
So if
be.
you're the 5th, then it's just over.
Do people have your cell phone?
I
Because
don't
it-
mind taking.
Because if there's only 4, if there's only
Give
4
me a quick
here, then they ought to be calling you to tell you don't show up.
Yeah, we're gonna give you the numbers, okay? I don't wanna say it on the
On the
video.
video.
Okay, so you
No.
can write that after we adjourn, or it can go around as we adjourn. So, motion?
Motion.
Make
To
a motion to
adjourn.
adjourn. I second it.
Go home and go to bed.
Go home and have
At
supper.
9:45.
You guys gonna vote on it or just?
Oh, sorry. We're all done. Everybody in favor of adjourning, Judy?
No, she wants to stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanna
It's a
say,
minor detail.
please.
Okay. There you go. You don't have to put yours on there.
I could.
Unless you need to know it.